Honorable Moses is pushing it down at all costs, and yet the procedure is not smuggle business on the floor of Parliament. This is a Parliament of record, and Honorable David Moses has been known to be a transparent, one of the most cautious ministers, very careful, so that we don't look bad and don't look shabby in the eyes of Ugandans. So, Right Honorable Speaker, is it procedure that is not commensurate to the procedures of the Parliament of this House? We want to have this bill to be processed, and we proceed together. And they are making the Speaker to commit that the bills are already on the table, whereas they are not. They are not there on the table, Right Honorable Speaker. We wish that you could guide on this matter so that the general public doesn't seem to take us that we have a hidden agenda for this.
Honourable members, I have told you to stop being analog. I hope you did not forget the iPads during campaign. Next item.
Item 4 on the order paper, laying of papers. Item 4.3, reports of the Parliament of Uganda delegation to the 5th ordinary session of the 6th legislature of the Pan-African Parliament and other related meetings held in Midrand, South Africa, 16th July to 1st August 2025.
Honourable members, Article 19 of the PAP protocol requires members of the Pan-African Parliament to submit a written report to their national parliaments with the copies sent to Ministers of Foreign Affairs or for regional cooperation, and pursuant to Rule 38 of the Rules of Procedure of Parliament, I will invite a member of PAP, who is none other than Honorable Oshabe, to present the reports.
Thank you very much, Right Honourable Speaker. Right Honourable Speaker, the rules of procedure presents an opportunity that after laying, a member can briefly give a submission of what transpired at the Pan-African Parliament based on Rule 38. It's under that rule, Right Honourable Speaker, that I wanted to give you indulgence.
Just give us a summary.
That after laying, at least I briefly take the House through about a few things. Right Honourable Speaker.
No worries.
Thank you very much, Right Honourable Speaker. Right Honourable Speaker and colleagues, allow me lay the report of the Parliament of Uganda delegation to the 5th ordinary session of the 6th legislature of the Pan-African Parliament and other related meetings held in Midrand, South Africa, from the 16th of July to the 1st of August 2025. Right Honourable Speaker,
please lay.
I beg to lay. Right Honourable Speaker and colleagues, allow me lay a report of the Parliament of Uganda delegation to the 6th ordinary session of the 6th legislature of the Pan-African Parliament and other related meetings that sat from the 3rd to the 16th November 2025, Midrand, South Africa. I beg to lay. Right Honourable Speaker.
Please lay.
Right Honourable Speaker and colleagues, the Pan-African Parliament, the legislative organ of the African Union, held 2 meetings at the PAP headquarters in Midrand, South Africa, under the theme of the year, Justice for Africans and People of African Descent through reparations. The details of these sessions are in these reports that I have laid. The sittings brought together Pan-African parliamentarians, speakers of national and regional parliamentarians, members of the national and regional parliaments. Thank you very much. Clerks of the national and regional parliaments, government officials, civil society organization, academia, African Union member states, African Union organs and institutions, Ugandan national organs and bodies, and the diplomatic corps, Right Honorable Speaker. These are the lessons learned from the session. I'm going to do 2 lessons learned and the recommendations, just to run through time. 1, we should, the Pan-African Parliament recommended to strengthen the parliamentary diplomacy. The sessions demonstrated, Right Honorable Speaker, that parliamentary diplomacy remains a vital tool for advocating African collective interests. Parliaments can play a proactive role in complementing executive action on pressing issues such as climate change, inequality, and conflict. Building stronger interparliamentary networks enhances Africa's voice in global policy forums and strengthens regional solidarity on matters shared at the Continental Parliament. Secondly, Right Honourable Speaker, we learned that emphasis on tangible outcomes and accountability, there is a growing recognition that the continental engagements must move beyond the political declarations toward concrete, measurable outcomes, effective monitoring, evaluation, and reporting mechanisms are essential to ensure that commitments made at the Pan-African Parliament and related forums translate into actionable national and regional policies. The other lesson is value for continental coordination. Deliberations on frameworks such as the EU Carbon Border Adjustment Mechanism and the AU-EU Summit preparations illustrated the importance of a unified African stance in global negotiations. Coordinated approaches enhance bargaining power, prevent policy fragmentation, and ensure that continental priorities are coherently advanced and at international platforms. The other lesson, Right Honourable Speaker and colleagues, youth inclusion as a driver of innovation and governance. Engagements such as the Youth Day Conference and the P20 Young Parliamentarians Forum reaffirmed the critical role of youth in governance, innovation, and policy making. Investing in youth leadership, capacity building, and mentorship ensures continuity in democratic governance and brings fresh perspectives to development challenges. The other lesson, Madam Speaker, is harnessing technology and digital transformation. The discussion on digital innovation and artificial intelligence highlighted the need for African parliaments to embrace technical tools for improved governance, transparency, and service delivery. Strengthening digital literacy, data protection, and AI governance frameworks will position Africa to benefit from the fourth and industrial revolution. Integrating justice, equity, and reparations into development policy. The AU's 2024 theme, Justice for Africans and People of African Descent through Reparations, underscored the need for justice and the equity to underpin all development efforts. Legislators must promote frameworks that address historical injustices, social inequalities, and systematic barriers to inclusive development. Right Honourable Speaker, we learned that holistic and integrated approach to sustainable development. Committee discussions revealed that the sustainable development cannot be achieved through sectoral silos. Issues such as agriculture, energy, industry, health, and human rights are interconnected and must be addressed through coordinated policy frameworks that align with the AU's Agenda 2063 and the PAP strategic plan. Right Honourable Speaker and colleagues, we learned that multi-stakeholder engagement enhances policy relevance. The participation of civil society, the academia, AU institutions, and international partners enriched parliamentary deliberations. Such inclusion engagement ensures that policy making is evidence-based, participatory, and reflective of a diverse stakeholder preparation, thereby increasing legitimacy and impact. Institutional strengthening of the Pan-African Parliament. The sitting reaffirmed PAP's central role in promoting continental integration, harmonizing legislation, and advancing citizen-centered governance. Continued institutional capacity building and enhanced coordination with national parliaments will strengthen PAP's effectiveness in influencing continental policy agendas. Continuous learning and exchange of best practices, high-level engagement such as the AI governance workshop, ASGAP annual meeting, and the conference of speakers provided valuable platforms for experience sharing and peer learning. These exchanges encouraged innovation in parliamentary practice, legislative oversight, and policy formulation across the continent. Madam Speaker, these are the recommendations that were given by the Pan-African Parliament during the 2 sessions. Summarized also. We, Pan-African Parliament, recommend that enhance Uganda's role in parliamentary democracy. That's the recommendations of our delegation. The Parliament of Uganda should continue to engage actively in Pan-African and international parliamentary forums, strengthening Uganda's visibility and leadership within the PAP, and the interparliamentary platforms can amplify national and regional interests, especially on issues such as climate resilience, energy security, and fair trade. Institutional mechanism for follow-up on continental commitments. Madam Speaker, there is a need to establish a structured mechanism within Parliament to track implementation of PAP resolutions and AU decisions relevant to Uganda. This would ensure accountability and alignment of national policies with continental priorities, particularly those under Agenda 2063. Madam Speaker, we recommend that there is need to promote youth empowerment in governance. Parliament should expand youth representation and mentorship programs. Madam Speaker, we also recommend mainstreaming digital transformation and innovation in parliamentary work. We also propose to integrate justice and equity principles into legislation. We also recommend strengthening coordination with stakeholders. We also promote multi-stakeholder approach to national development, and also recommended investing in capacity building, knowledge exchange, and supporting strengthening of the Pan-African Parliament. Right Honourable Speaker, the biggest challenge the Pan-African Parliament institution is facing at the moment is that out of the 54 countries, only 15 have ratified the Malabo Protocol, which would empower the Pan-African Parliament to live as an institution, not to depend on national parliaments for its existence. The biggest challenge today, somebody has been a member of Parliament, tomorrow is not a member of Parliament, and every time, every session, at least there is announcement of new members of Parliament. We plead with our country, the Minister of Foreign Affairs, can be among, Uganda can be part of the countries that can ratify the Malabo Protocol and submit the instruments to AU, so that the move is made to make a purely legislative African legislative assembly, which is the Pan-African Parliament. Thank you very much, Right Honourable Speaker. Thank you very much, colleagues, for listening to me.
Thank you. We can actually organize for the PAP members of Parliament to have a meeting with the President on that matter. No, he's working for the country. Honourable members will deposit these reports to the Parliamentary Library for easy reference, and whoever wants them should be able to go and read and understand what happens in pub. Next.
Item 5 on the order paper. Motion for approval of the annual proposed budget for the financial year 2026-2027.
Honourable members, as you may be aware, Section 11 of the Public Finance Management Act 2025 mandates Parliament to analyze policy issues. In addition to Section 13 of the Public Finance Management Act, requires Parliament to consider and approve by 15th day of May the annual budgets and work plans for the government for the next financial year. The appropriation bill and any other bills that may be necessary for implementation of the national budget. So far, our timelines are well within the prescribed statutory timelines. As we commence the consideration of the sectoral committee reports on the ministerial policy statements for financial year 2026-2027, I will urge the committees to desist from focusing on unfunded priorities and unfunded and consider the funded one. As we are aware, the two budgets called circulars, as I said before, were already sent. BCC 1 was sent, BCC 2 was sent. That should have been something to guide us, other than us altering what has been sent, whereas that is what has been considered by the sectors and by government. And I want just to remind you that the formulation of budgets is a function of executive. I will now invite the Minister of Finance, Planning and Economic Development to move a motion for approval of the annual budgets for financial year 2026-2027, after which I will invite the various chairpersons of committees to present their ministerial policy statements. Yes, Honourable Minister.
Right Honourable Speaker, thank you so much for that guidance. And within the framework of that guidance, I beg to move a motion for the approval of the annual proposed budget for the financial year 2026-2027. I beg to move.
Seconded. Seconded by Honourable Lukia, Honourable Bua, Honourable Amos, Honourable David, Honourable Pira, Honourable Tourism, Honourable Agriculture, Public Service, Omara, Acrobat, Karim, Etebandeke, my DP, Chief Whip of DP, Honourable Sanja, Honourable Akol, and the whole side. Thank you so much. Or do you want to speak to it? This is the second reading.
Right Honourable Speaker, you already stated the legal framework upon which we are moving, Section 11 and Section 13 of the Public Finance Management Act, that empower Parliament to look at the proposals made by government through the policy statements. Earlier we had sent the budget framework paper to the House, and the budget framework paper was approved by Parliament. Subsequently, we issued a budget called Circular 2, based on which the policy statements were prepared by the various votes under this government. These were laid here one by one, and we are referred to the various sectoral committees of Parliament. Accordingly, as required under these provisions, these have to be presented here for your consideration. Right Honourable Speaker, we are now inviting the House to consider the proposals made by government and these as contained in these various reports from the various votes of government. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. Honorable Minister, I will now invite the chairpersons of different committees to present their ministerial statements.
The Committee on ICT and National Guidance.
Chair Committee of ICT. In the absence of Chair Committee, we can have Public Service and Local Government. I know he's always ready.
Right Honourable Speaker, we will request that you give us the next few minutes and we'll be ready.
Okay.
The Committee on East African Community Affairs.
Honourable members, can we have your reports? I will make you sit here even on a Sunday. Honourable members, as we wait for Honourable Jara Mapendusi, Honourable Minister of Sports says he has a report on preparedness of AFCON, as asked by the leader Lop. The outgoing opposition.
Thank you very much, Right Honourable Speaker. Right Honourable Speaker and honourable members. Maybe before I begin the submission of my statement, allow me in a special way first register my apologies and condole with the family of the FA President, Honourable Moses Magogo. I was meant to officially attend the burial of his mom. I want in a special way to say I was representing the ministry in the retreat in Nali. Secondly, I also send my condolences to the families of Honorable Najuma Sarah and the other colleague who lost their dear parents. I thank you for granting me the opportunity to appraise you on Uganda's preparedness to co-host African Cup of Nations 2027 tournament.
Honourable Peter, do you have a copy?
Yeah. Madam Speaker, I did submit the copies of this submission before clerk's office by midday this afternoon. So I expected that this document would have already been sent to members. But I can proceed as they bring the copies. Madam Speaker, my size mate has turned to be the chair of the house. She's telling me.
Let's have it uploaded as you read.
Okay.
So your size mate is...
has turned out to grant me permission to proceed as if she's the chair of the house, but I thank her so much. Right Honourable Speaker, I want to reiterate, I thank you for granting me this opportunity to appraise you on Uganda's preparedness to co-host African Cup of Nations 2027 tournament alongside Kenya and Tanzania. This follows concern raised by the Right Honorable Leader of Opposition on this matter of national importance. The statement therefore provides an update on the progress made thus far and the arrangements in the pipeline that the government of Uganda has put in place to support the successful hosting of this important continental sporting events. Honorable members, co-hosting a tournament of this magnitude and complexity of the Africa's Cup of Nations is not an undertaking that can be delivered by one ministry, department, agency, or sporting federation alone. It requires a well-coordinated whole of government and a whole of government approach. Honorable members, as guided by Cabinet, the First Lady and the Minister of Education and Sports has constituted an intersectoral committee to support the local organizing committee in Uganda's preparation for AFCON 2027. Right Honorable Speaker, the interministerial committee is a convergence of skills and experience from people in different fields, drawn from over 20 entities, including government institutions, representation from the private sector, and the Federation of Uganda Football Associations. Honorable members, the interministerial committee has identified key sector requirements that are critical for successful organization and hosting of AFCON 2027 tournament. This has been prioritized in the plans for financial year 2026-2027, and Cabinet has approved the attendant requisite budget for funding the intervention. Honorable members, the government planning for AFCON 2027 has been guided by a number of key assumptions. This includes the fact that the tournament will be jointly hosted by Uganda, Kenya, and United Republic of Tanzania. That is, it will run from 19th June to 18th July 2027. That Uganda will host matches at Mandela National Stadium, Nambole, and Hoima City Stadium. And that the two competition stadia, together with attendant 8 training facilities, must be completed by January 2027. Honorable members, government has demonstrated from the time to time its commitment to an undertaking. In 2024, Cabinet not only approved the government guarantees to the Confederation of African Football, but also approved a budget of 1.35 trillion towards the infrastructure, logistical, and operational costs associated with preparation for the African Cup of Nations 2027 and CHAN 2024, including Uganda's obligatory commitment fee to the Confederation of African Football. In addition, government has approved 905 billion to meet the critical intersectoral funding and administrative requirements for AFCON 2027. Right Honorable Speaker, the additional commitments include the following major intervention. Number one, the Ministry of Finance, Planning and Economic Development is to allocate and reinvest. I want to repeat. The Ministry of Finance, Planning and Economic Development is to allocate and reinvest funds to ministries, departments, and agencies with a qualified AFCON 2027 intervention, including those requiring commitments between March and June 2026 ahead of the new financial year. Government has already set aside 1.01 billion to support the upgrading of selected hotels in Hoima and Masindi through a special credit facility under the Uganda Development Bank. Consultations with CAF on the standards of hotel in Hoima and Masindi have been concluded, and the engagements between the hotel owners and Uganda Development Bank are anticipated to commence by 23rd April 2026. 213 billion 0.76 has been committed for the upgrade of at least
47.53 kilometers of selected roads around Hoima City Stadium and Mandela National Stadium, including Chinawataka Road, as well as the pedestrian walkways and street lighting to improve accessibility, safety, and security. 4. 184.9 billion has been allocated for the establishment of a passenger terminal at Kabalega Airport and to operationalize the facility as an international airport. 5.2 billion has been provided to the Federation of Uganda Football Association for upgrading of Kadiva Stadium as a training facility, with 12.55 billion has been committed for the interventions aimed at preparing the Uganda Cranes for AFCON 2027. Madam Speaker, 109 billion has been allocated to the local organizing committee to support tournament-specific preparations across the 13 subcommittees, including safety and security, ICT and accreditation, workforce and volunteer, medical and anti-doping, events operation, commercial services, branding, spectator services, team services, legal, infrastructure management, guest management, and hospitality. 7. 56.2 billion has been allocated in the financial year 2026-2027 for the remodeling and upgrade of the Mandela National Stadium. 8. 6.44 billion has been committed to ICT infrastructure deployment and improvement across airport, hotel, stadium, training facilities, and hospitals that will support AFCON 2027. 9. 91.5 billion has been set aside for the upgrade of Hoima Regional Referral Hospital, Masindi General Hospital, and Buseruka Health Center 3 to a required standard for intensive care, accident, and emergency response as stipulated by CAF. 10. 13.75 billion has been allocated to Hoima City, Masindi Municipality, and Kira Municipality to strengthen sanitation and environmental hygiene services during the tournament. 11. Government has also provided 3.39 billion for the upgrade of the meteorological services. 12. 6.2 billion has been identified for water supply infrastructure in Hoima City. 13. 23.33 billion is being allocated for the upgrade and maintenance of the railway at the Central Terminal Kampala Mukono Line, Namamve, and Nambole Halt. 14. 4.6 billion has been dedicated to the construction of electricity lines to AFCON support facilities, including Hoima City Stadium and Kabalega International Airport. 15. 37.85 billion has been committed for the destination marketing and promotion of Uganda under AFCON 2027 brand. 16. Government has further committed to waive visa fees for all visitors to Uganda for a period of at least 3 months, beginning 1 month before kickoff and ending 1 month after the final match. Relatedly, government is pursuing the option of a special purpose joint Pamoja visa with the Kenya and Tanzania to facilitate ease of movement for fans and guests during the tournament. Right, Honorable Speaker and Honorable Members, the above mentioned intervention will be directly implemented by the responsible government ministries, department, and agency. The Ministry of Education and Sports and the local organizing committee will play a supervisory role to ensure timely implementation of activities by the MDS and conformity to CAF standard. Honorable colleagues, our most significant challenge has been the area of sports infrastructure. I wish to assure the House that following the government's commitments, decisive intervention, this matter has been addressed. The update regarding the development of sports infrastructure in preparation for the tournament is as follows. Hoima City Stadium. Works for the construction of Hoima City Stadiums have been completed and the defect liability period will expire in December 2026. During this period, the contractor will undertake remedial works to address the comments made by the Confederation of African Football after the recent inspection. 2. Mandela National Stadium. The memorandum of understanding between the Minister of Education and Sports and the Minister of Defense and Veteran Affairs for the design and build for works for the expansion of Mandela National Stadiums under Phase 2 was signed on 26 February 2026. Under this phase, we expect, among others, the following. 1. Upgrading the seating capacity from 38,268 to 45,000 seater. 2. Improvements and expansion of the VVIP and VIP launches. 3. Improvements in the media tribune, stadium media center, press conferences rooms, the mixed zone, spectators, related areas, medical areas, among others. Right Honorable Speaker, the contractor is currently reviewing the design to incorporate the observations made by the Confederation of African Football. Following the design review, structural integrity tests are being taken, and it is expected that the contractor will execute the works within the time frame stipulated by CAF. 3. Chambogo University Training Facility. The construction works under Phase 2 are ongoing and will be completed by August 2026. Makerere University Training Facility. Construction works are ongoing and will be completed by August 2026. Hoima Boma Grounds. The architectural designs have been completed. Construction works will commence before end of April 2026. Masindi Municipal Training Facility. The architectural designs have been completed. Construction works will commence before end of April 2026. 7. Fufa Kadiba Stadium Training Facility. The works have been provided for in the budget, and the Federation is expected to hand over the facility at the end of June because the season of the current league is ending in June. 8. Satito Winyi Secondary School Training Facility. The process for land acquisition is ongoing, and works are expected to commence by end of May 2026. Honorable colleagues, the foregoing clearly demonstrates the government's commitment, strong commitment, to creating an enabling environment for the successful organization and co-hosting of AFCON 2027 tournament. The focus now is ensuring timely implementation of all interventions across implementing entities, efficient coordination and close monitoring of progress across all intervention areas. Right Honorable Speaker and colleagues, I therefore wish to assure this House that government remains fully committed to a successful preparation and co-hosting of AFCON 2027. We will continue to provide regular updates on progress, key milestones, and emerging implementation issues as preparations address. I beg to submit. But Right Honorable Speaker, in a special way, I thank you for leading us to getting the rights to host AFCON with your deputy. I thank you so much on behalf of the Minister of Education and Sport.
Thank you so much. I didn't hear about Achiwa. Is Achiwa part of...
Madam Speaker, for the record, I want to put this before honorable members. I did say this before, and I'm going to repeat it now. The Confederation of African Football did give us 3 countries, each country to have 2 stadiums because we are 3. They want 6 stadiums. But they also advise us, each of us must have a backup stadium. And for that matter, Akibwa Stadium is a backup stadium for AFCON 2027. Like Tanzania is having also 1 or 2, Kenya is doing the same. So I want to say this. It's not that Akibwa is totally out, but my statement is saying for purposes of this competition, we are going to have Nambole and Hoima. But the backup stadium is Akibwa. And the works in Akibwa, we will have Akibwa ready by end of this year. I have been there and encourage all of us to visit Akibwa if you need. I thank you.
Honorable Peter, since Akibwa is going to be a backup stadium, we would also need to get an update of Akibwa, the road, Icheme, that AFCON road that goes up to Gulu. You get it, eh? That road there. Then, Honorable Peter, we also want to find out when will this road from to Hoima, Busunju Hoima, be ready, because we need those facilities to be ready.
Madam
It is
Speaker,
outside your ministry, but you are the coordinating minister.
Madam Speaker and honorable colleagues, it is true we are coordinating as the chair of the Interministerial Committee on AFCON 2027. To begin with the road between Kampala to Hoima, I want to confirm if you've just passed in that road. We discussed this road because it was within the CAF report when they came and visited us. They identified it. We notified the Minister of Works. As I speak now, I last passed that road last evening at around midnight. There are works going on, and I want to pledge that will continue to monitor and inform the House working closely with the Minister of Works and Transport to ensure that that road is finished on time. The road of Konayeri, Icheme, Bobby. I also want to say this, during the retreat, there was a question raised. And I did inform the retreat, and now I want to inform the House that the President had directed that that road is fast-tracked. And I want to confirm there were meetings between us, Minister of Works and Transport, and Minister of Finance, with the President regarding the financing of that road. Madam Speaker and honorable colleagues, if you heard from the answer I gave, and I want to repeat, that this matter is before the President, and he directed his principal private secretary to ensure that he signs that letter which allows us as government to do the work. The question which will come, will they be able to do the work? According to the contractor which was identified, they have pledged, once this is done, they are ready to commit and begin the works of the road on time. The same applies to the Gulu Airport. Madam Speaker, that airport, I led that team, even under the directive of the President, to visit the airport with the contractor, and also the contractor is committed in ensuring that the work which is required is done. But remember, I'm talking about a backup. On times of the sporting area, friends, the training facility for Gulu University, Peche Stadium in Gulu, then Lira University, Akibwa Stadium has two training facilities, will be ready in as far as we are concerned. I already have money under the current budget to ensure that stadiums are worked. I've already finalized the work memo used with Ministry of Defense, which is the contractor for the training facilities. I will be able to invite my colleagues soon for the commissioning of the groundbreaking of the training facilities in Gulu, Lira. I did it, all of them, as a symbol here in Makere University for all those facilities. So I want to say we are good to go in that line to thank you.
Honorable Minister, I think you need to create time and visit all these facilities with the Committee of Education and Sports. Yes, let me start with the Patrick. Patrick, you have been itching.
Thank you very much, Right Honourable Speaker. Right Honourable Speaker, allow me to thank the Minister for giving us a general update about Uganda's preparedness to host the AFCON 2027. But Right Honourable Speaker, the matter the leader of opposition raised here, I was in this house, was about the CAF report. I expected the minister, because the CAF report said, highlight the key areas where we lay behind in terms of preparations. So I thought the minister would have been fair to us and the country at large to tease out all the key critical highlights in the CAF report where we do not get, where CAF said Uganda is not prepared for 2027. And we would have convinced us that this is what we are doing in terms of acceleration of our preparedness in that particular area. So for me, Madam Speaker, that's where my problem was, and I wanted him to concentrate mainly on the CAF report and the how do we rectify that, and when does CAF come back to say we have worked on what we are supposed to work on, and probably approve us. Thank you.
And if I heard well, I heard the minister say that the construction, Hoima Stadium, is still under defect period, and those issues have been seen by the contractor, and the contractor is supposed to work on them. Isn't that what you said, Honorable Minister?
Madam Speaker, I thank you for correctly answering my colleague, but I also want to say the following. It is we invited CAF to come and carry out inspection of our readiness. Why? CAF are the owners of the tournament. Because of that, the standards, they're the ones who set them. For that matter, when they came and inspected the facilities, they gave a report. I want to confirm it is that report which gave my minister to constitute an interministerial committee, because if you look at what I've read here, it's on different ministries, departments of agencies outside education. So when she constituted the interministerial committee, that interministerial committee, whatever observations you've seen me, government allocate money, is within the findings of CAF. For instance, the Hoima airport was meant to be an airport specifically for cargo. But now that we put up a stadium there was need for government to put up a passenger terminal in that Hoima. It's within the CAF report. Let's talk about health. Hoima Regional Referral Hospital. CAF came out and inspected and picked certain provisions within that hospital in Masindi. It's within that we sat with the Minister of Health. In line with the guidance of the CAF report, the following must be undertaken. That's how we came up to allocate that money. Talk about roads. This road between Kampala to Hoima is one of the observations which was within the CAF report. That's what made us come up with to follow up on that on that intervention. Talk about the roads within the Hoima Stadium. They asked, how are we going to decongest traffic? Because we're going to have 20,000 people in the stadium, coming in and exiting. How will they get out? That's what made us made allocation of that money. Within the stadium itself, though we gave a contractor to come up with the stadium, the contractor made a stadium. After that, CAF has carried out inspection of the stadium. Within our contract, it was very clear that we can only take that stadium if it fully meets the CAF class certification. For that matter, CAF identified some of the areas in the stadium which did not meet. Now the contractor, as per the contract, is meant to ensure that all those issues which were identified are corrected. The government of Uganda is not going to spend even $1. And like the speaker said, the stadium is still within a defect liability period, which they must make sure that that work is going to be done. CAF is again coming back in August to check on whether we are done what they had identified in their report. Honorable colleagues, the government has taken this competition as a priority for next financial year's budget. No wonder you've had the president insist that this is a project which takes a priority for the implementation. We committed, we cannot be able to get out of it. For that matter, the issues identified in the CAF report is exactly what we're addressing as the government. I thank you, honorable colleague.
Helen.
Thank you, Madam Speaker, and I want to thank the Sports Minister for that elaborate report. But, Madam Speaker, if I recall correctly, what the LOP addressed us here is not what he is responding to. You are simply giving us a general report, but he specified about 8 areas which you have not hinted on. Firstly, like you said, we have a deadline of August. CAF is coming back in August. You have said government has done this and that. Have you given us a deadline on when these things are going to be done? Because CAF is going to come and inspect in August. Will this time be enough for us to be ready, especially in Hoima? Then secondly, Madam Speaker, The issues entailed in the LOPS presentation, for example, the stands, the benches which are obstructing the VIP. Have you handled that in your report? And then also, Madam Speaker, I want to ask the Minister, the contractor you got, why didn't you get professionals to work on this page and to approve? And the plan you have, why didn't you share with CAF? Because they are the ones who are supposed to inspect. Where did you get the plan you used for Hoima City Stadium? And allow me give him information. Thank you.
I thank you, my honorable colleague Nachimuli. My right honorable speaker, in 2019, Cameroon had to host AFCON that was put in Egypt. The reason why it was dropped off is because Cameroon wasn't ready the way Uganda is. So we have professionals in this field, especially in stadiums, which I think that's FUFA in Uganda. Before going all this, did the FUFA, in consultation with the CAF, approve the plan for Hoima Stadium? Because what we are doing is we are going back, yet we had a solution in first. I want to know, is FUFA involved in infrastructure or in stadium development of this country, or is only the ministry that has no experts and professionals? That's what I want to know.
Thank you, Madam Speaker, and thank you, Honorable colleague, for the information. So I want you to please give us the real report that we require, this House requires. Another issue was CAF was telling you to break, especially the changing rooms, because they were very small. I don't see that in your report. Or maybe you just give us a highlight. Please. We want Uganda to host, but we want us to be ready. I thank you. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Honorable members, if there are issues that were raised by CAF, you're saying there are 8 issues that were raised. Why doesn't the minister come back on issue one by one and say, if it is breaking, this is the state? Because we are saying we are not spending any more money in this. It is now upon the minister to supervise and say, you do A, B, C, D as per what we asked you to do. Because by the time these people went to construct, the minister must have given them a what? A plan. They cannot construct without a plan. You'll answer all of them. Yes, Karim.
Thank you very much, Right Honorable Speaker, and I do want to thank my colleague, the Honorable Minister, for the report. The Honorable Minister need some clarification on the transport, majorly the means of transport, because you've talked about the passenger terminal, but I'm interested in knowing the public means that are going to be used. Do you have any special arrangement? Because if we have maybe people, you know what happens.
We have Kira buses.
Yes, we know what happens when we have football games. For example, at Nambole, getting there is a problem. So do we have any special arrangement for people, maybe those who want to go?
Yes.
Have you made an arrangement with any bus companies, or do you have a terminal, maybe a bus terminal, something particular that will be dedicated to the tournament? Because many of our people may find many of our people may struggle to get to Hoima, and you know they usually cheat us in times like this. Even just children going back to school, we find that many of these bus operators are cheating our people.
We should actually thank President Museveni for putting a lot of money in Kira Motors, because we will have a number of buses.
Yes, and in the report there was the issue of the train connecting from Mukono to Nambole. Does it involve buying new locomotives? Because the ones we have are quite embarrassing for us as a country. I don't know what exactly is included in this figure that you mentioned.
Thank you. Alan, Ethel, Hillary, and I close it.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I thank the Minister of Sports for that great enlightenment. Madam Speaker, through you, I would like to the Minister of Sports to clear the air about a question which was asked to the CAF president while in Senegal 1 week ago about the readiness of the East African countries to host the next Africa Cup of Nations. In his answer, he said Tanzania and Kenya are very ready, but Uganda, they have some concerns. And he said, in case Uganda is not ready by August 27th, they have approached 3 countries to replace Uganda. And this is in the general news, in the whole of Africa. They have already approached South Africa, Algeria, and Egypt to replace Uganda as a country, not as the East African bloc. So, through you, Madam Speaker, the Minister can clear the air because this came from the CAF President, Mr. Patrice Motsepe, while at a visit in Senegal. I thank you, Madam Speaker.
Yes, Ethel Denlop.
Thank you so much, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, my concern is about the involvement of the local governments where these events are going to be. A case in point, Namboli. Many times we are having national, international events, but you'll find Chira municipality is not in any way involved. And now the cleanliness of those entities, those cities, the municipalities, it's upon that local government. So even many other things. Let me also know now how the local governments, the local entities are involved in this matter. I thank you.
Thank you, Minister of Local Government.
Thank you very much, Right Honorable.
My
concern, thank you, Honorable Minister. My concern is surrounding within Nambole Stadium. Because when you go to the eastern side of the stadium, there are so many people selling things there along the road. And also the land that was acquired when the people were evicted within the stadium, on the western side of the stadium, near the hotel. That land is too bushy. 2 years ago, we are the Minister of Works. And they promised to level that land. Because that could be even one of the places. They would use it for training. It's very large. It's a large place. But now if they would level that place, because it's too bushy within the stadium. I thank you, Right Honorable.
Thank you. I first expected you to thank Honorable Bua for forcefully having that land first, because that land was going. That was when he was still a Minister of Sports. And then Honorable Bua, we want to thank you for forcefully getting that land title. And now Honorable Gwang, we want the place clean. Now that we have given it to you, we first it for you, we want it clean. Yes, Lob.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, also allow me to thank the Minister. And you know, Peter Gwang, you are in a field, you are in an area where you are very competent. Actually, if you could take serious observation of the Speaker's communication, all the issues raised by CAF are within your statement, but you have not put them out clearly. And it takes serious observance of what Honorable Alan Sawanya has stated, because it's not an issue of an argument here. However, Madam Speaker, I would pray that if the Honourable Minister would come back, this statement was supposed to work in relation to CAF, and kindly, Honourable Peter Gwang, work with the FUFA. Work with the FUFA with everything you are doing. I don't know, in your statement, I'm not hearing anything about UBC. UBC is supposed to broadcast these games, and funding them is key. They need money, but you have not that. Because, Madam Speaker, if you look at the money government is bringing out, it's a lot of money. But UBC is the officially mandated broadcasting house, I think, in Uganda, to give us this game. But you have not raised it anywhere. Then lastly, could you give us what is happening with the Nambole Hotel? Nambole has a stadium plus a hotel with even a swimming pool. But whatever is going on in Nambole, that hotel is left aside. Who took that hotel? Who's owning it? Is it still owned by government or somebody
has stolen the hotel. So we know that that hotel is no longer part of Nambole. But otherwise, I want to thank you for your presentation, but kindly, and I'm beseeching government, we should not lose this chance. This is money. When you talk about AFCON coming here, it's about money. It's about enjoyment. That's why you and I hate each other. You are money, you are us. They beat you, they beat us last week, but we shall be the winners of Premier League. But Uganda as well has that kind of interest in being present in that game. Madam Speaker, I beg to move.
Honorable members, all the questions, all the issues raised are very pertinent. For us as Ugandans, our interest is to host AFCON. And it would be very, very good if we work together towards hosting AFCON. And it will be very bad if AFCON is removed, yet we have spent a lot of money. So it is good for us to, Honorable Gwang, my brother, where you feel you need support from somebody more technical, please. That does not show a weakness. It doesn't show a weakness. It only helps the country, because all of us are working for the country. I have my reports ready now, so you can summarize. I was only helping you.
I thank you very much, Right Honourable Speaker. I want first to go on record and answer the following. Number one, the question of working together with the Federation. 150% we are one. CAF guided when we are constituting the local organizing committee. Where government chairs, Federation must be the vice chair. And for this matter, there are 13 committees according to CAF guidance. Of the 13 committees, government is chairing 6, Federation is chairing what? 7. Of those committees, the constitution to those committees was both a nomination of the Federation and a nomination from government. For the local organizing committee, I want to confirm, I am not the chair. The chair is a minister, I'm the co-chair. The vice chair of the local is the president of the Federation of Uganda Football Association. So first, for the record, we are working together. That one I want to go on record and answered here. Now, the question of the Hoima City Stadium. I also want again to put it on record. It is us who invited CAF to come and carry out inspection of our readiness as a country. And they came, they inspected all the 3 partner states. The report, which I have a copy, after I invited them, they gave me the report. The findings you're all talking about, which I've submitted here, addressing the issues which are in the CAF report. For instance, if I'm to be specific with the Hoima City Stadium, CAF identified 8 observations. I cannot list all the 8 observations here. That's what I told you. According to the contract I signed with the contractor, in line with the CAF report, has agreed to work on all the 8 observations. That is for the record, for us to be clear, without government of Uganda spending $1.
Honorable Peter.
I want to put that on record, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, just give me to complete this.
Honorable Peter, just calm down. Calm down.
Number 2, Madam Speaker.
Calm down. You're doing a very good job. We do appreciate. You're doing a very good job. No, not just presenting. They are doing a very good job on ground. But what we are saying, if they are saying dressing rooms, come back to us and tell us. It doesn't, even if it is not today, come back and tell us we are 80% complete on dressing rooms. And that's why I'm saying, invite these members and go with them. Invite these members and go with them.
With your permission, I'm ready to take Committee of Education and Sports and some of the members under the nominees of the Leader of Opposition to visit the facility, because the facility is ready, and all those who are ready, I can be able to lead you to the Hoima City Stadium, which I want complete, to confirm is complete. What we are only waiting now is for the same few specific areas which the CAF identified in our report, which the contractor is beginning to work on in line with the CAF report.
Just
Then
tell us when you're ready for the members.
Madam Speaker, for me, that's my work as government. If you tell me tomorrow, with your permission, and if they are ready, government cannot fail to facilitate me, but the Parliament can facilitate the members of Parliament to travel to Hoima. Because
now,
as
what we
far
are
as
saying,
yes,
we don't want to disorganize the contractor.
Yes.
We want the contractor to work, and then when it's ready, we visit before the next visit of CAF.
Okay, Madam Speaker, I want to confirm we can do that next week. There was a second question which was raised. This contractor, Madam Speaker, MS Suma has built stadiums in Senegal. MS Suma has built stadium, he renovated Amahoro Stadium in Rwanda. MS Suma built a Kigali Arena. MS Suma, as you speak now, is going to build the National Stadium of the Democratic Republic of Congo. MS Suma has expertise of almost about 30 years in stadium construction. So it's not that they don't have the capacity and expertise. The other one is, for the record, according to the information I have from the contractor, they built the stadium in line with the CAF regulations 2022. I want that to go on record. The other issues which have been raised is the train to Nambole. It is true, we as the Minister of Education and Sports worked with the Ministry's department and agencies and asked them for the priorities for purpose of congesting traffic. Because you all know, honorable members, every time we have a game in Nambole, a lot of traffic pours in there. So to congest traffic, we agreed that let's work on a railway line. The Minister of Works gave us the bill. We consolidated after having consultation meetings with them, and they were able to agree that the amount of money they needed for purposes of that line was the one I have read before you. The other one is the readiness of the East African countries. Colleagues, and this goes to Honorable Sewanyana. I don't want to be quoted and to be misquoted. When the president of the Confederation of African Football, who is a very good friend, and we want to thank him, Madam Speaker, for the time the president, Dr. Musepe, has taken to support Pamoja. He was in Tanzania. He did say, EAC, Uganda, Kenya, and Tanzania will host AFCON 2027. The three heads of states have committed, no one as a country, Uganda. I have just told you, our commitment is to ensure that whatever observations are there, we will be able to host AFCON 2027. I do not agree because I've not had the statement said in Senegal, and I want that to be on record. What I can confirm, we will have AFCON in EAC in 2027. The other one is the involvement of the local governments.
We'll actually presume that is a hearsay.
That's very true.
Because a person of that caliber of Dr. Musepe, even if he was not going to give Uganda, he cannot make a public statement on that. The person I know, Dr. Musepe, cannot.
Madam Speaker, the involvement of the local governments, I want to confirm this, Honorable Shadow Minister of Local Governments. We are working closely with the technical people of this local government.
Honorable Minister, the Member of Parliament of Wakiso, please work with her.
Okay.
Work with her.
Madam Speaker,
work with the members of Parliament of Hoima. Please. They need to work with their people. They need to be seen.
Most obliged, right honorable Speaker.
Even if I was the one.
But I want to say this, that we did ask Kira municipality to submit areas of need. No wonder you must have seen what I read, that the specific monies which are going to go to these specific municipalities and city to support our preparedness as organizing committee and AFCON. The issue of
the swampy land.
The swampy land, I want to say this, if it is land fenced within the stadium, I am responsible for it. Because, Madam Speaker, like you truly did, and my colleague, my predecessor, Honorable Robinson, was to secure the land for the stadium. Fortunately, you helped us to evicted the encroacher who had entered the stadium. We really want to commend you and the leadership of Parliament for that matter. If it is land outside the stadium, this is Kira municipality. So we'll still work with the Kira municipality to ensure that that land or that swampy area will be cleared and look good. Because truly speaking, but I also want to urge the public, particularly in those areas, that we have a responsibility to ensure that we do well. The question of UBC, friends, the rights to broadcast this competition vest with CAF. It is important as us that the reason why you see the Committee of Legal and Brand Protection is there is to ensure at all costs the broadcasting rights or the rights of the owner of the competition are protected. No wonder if you've seen, even to market Uganda, brand Uganda, as government who have had to put in money to a tune of 37 billion. Why? We have to go and pay CAF, who is the owner of the competition. So even now broadcasting this event, I want to confirm the Uganda Broadcasting Corporation, under the means of ICT, will have to work with CAF to ensure they get the broadcasting rights. Without that, Madam Speaker, I want to say respectively that it might not be possible. Because it's not our competition, they are the owners of the competition. The last one is on the issue of Nambole Hotel. The truth be told, under phase 1, the work was undertaken in that hotel. The truth be told, under phase 2, the hotel will be completed. There is nobody who has taken over that hotel. That hotel is still, and I'm the one speaking as the Minister of Sports. And the facility is mine. So, Madam Speaker and honorable colleagues, I want to thank you so much, colleagues, for the information you've given me. And I want to really reassure the country that the country will host AFCON 2027, come rain, come sunshine, because as government, we have taken it as a priority project. I thank you, and I invite colleagues to join me next week to visit the stadium in Hoima. For the issues identified, we will be able to look at the CAF report vis-a-vis what works was done. I will also inform the contractor to be there. So I will want Madam Speaker, your office to coordinate this so that I go. Thank you so much.
Honorable Member, Honorable Minister, I want to thank you so much for the report. And as you've heard concerns of members, we request that you involve all the stakeholders, including, I am one of the biggest stakeholders. You involve all the stakeholders in this project for the success of AFCON, and based on the personality of Dr. Musefe, the president of CAF. I know who he is. I want the statement that has been said by Honorable Alan Sewanyana expunged from the record, because that is not correct and cannot be correct. Expunge that report, that statement, and on the technical working of the stadium, we want to request that you work with the technical team of people of football. And that is what somebody said. Work with the technical team. They may be in a lock, that is okay, but work with the technical team. But members, in a special way, we also want to thank you for supporting the minister on AFCON. The thing has come from very far, and I can assure you we are going to achieve. The highest the time that we have had the highest number of visitors in Uganda was during Chan, and that was Chan. What about AFCON now? We will have more and more people. We want to thank you. And our members, we are ready. The motion was already moved. we're now ready for the reports, and I want to still repeat this, that I want to urge committee members, committee chairs, not to overemphasize on unfunded priorities. Based on what was given to them, the budget call circular 1 was given to them, budget call circular 2 was given to them. That should be the guiding point for them to make their presentation. And I will give each committee 10 to 15 minutes. Yes.
The Sectoral Committee on Tourism, Trade and Industry.
And after the presentation of these reports, we will refer the chairpersons with their reports to the Committee of Budget for harmonization. So after you're done with this, tomorrow I expect you to be in the Budget Committee in the morning before the House. Yes? Committee of Trade, Honorable Okot Youth.
Thank you very much, Right Honourable Speaker. I beg to lay minutes and the report of the Sectoral Committee on Tourism, Trade and Industry on the Ministerial Policy Statement and Budget Estimates for financial year 26-27 for the Ministry of Trade, Industry and Cooperatives and the Ministry of Tourism, Wildlife and Antiquities. I beg to lay, Right Honourable.
Please lay.
Right Honourable Speaker, I'll go straight to the compliance of the MPS to the relevant provisions of the law. And Honourable Speaker, the committee notes that the Ministry of Trade, Tourism, Industries and Cooperatives submitted all the required information in the MPS, and we recommend that the Honourable Minister for Finance should ensure that all the votes receive the certificates for gender and equity compliance in time for submission of the Ministerial Policy Statement. And two, in addition, the Minister for Trade, Industry and Cooperatives should consider reporting on actions taken by the vote in recommendations of Parliament on the report of the Auditor General for the most recent year. On compliance of the MPS of the Ministry of Tourism, Wildlife, Antiquities for the financial year 26-27, Right Honourable Speaker, the committee notes that the Ministry of Tourism submitted all required information in the Ministerial Policy Statement, and we recommend that the Honourable Minister responsible for Finance should also ensure that the votes receive the certificates for gender and equity compliance in time for submission of the MPS to enable the committee to analyze the gender and equity concerns raised by the Equal Opportunities Commission. Right Honourable Speaker, in the interest of saving time, I'll go straight to observations and recommendations of the committee for the different votes. On vote 015, which is Ministry of Trade, Industry and Cooperatives, observation number 1 is on delayed development and implementation of new laws and review of old ones. The committee noted that government in its legislative agenda for the 4th and 5th session of the 11th Parliament committed to tabling the following bills for the first reading: the Trade Remedies Bill 2024, the Consumer Protection Bill 2024, the Cooperative Societies Bill, the Scientific Metrological Bill 2024, the Startup Bill 2024, the Accreditation Amendment Bill, the Scrap Recycling Bill, the Legal Metrology Bill 2024, the Industrial Licensing Amendment Bill, the Tobacco Control and Marketing Amendment Bill, the Confederation of the Uganda Chamber of Commerce and Industry Bill 2024. The committee, however, observed that the legislative agenda was affected by financing in the budget for the financial year 24-25 and financial year 25-26, even after Parliament had recommended that the Ministry of Trade be availed 3 billion shillings to operationalize the Accreditation Services Act and Sugar Act in addition to the proposed bills. The committee was informed by the Ministry of Trade that engaging Ministry of Finance to provide additional funds to fast-track the tabling of the following bills before Parliament at the various stages: the Consumer Protection Bill 2024, and the Ministry of Trade has requested for a certificate of financial implication from the Ministry of Finance. The Trade Remedies, Tobacco Control and Marketing Amendment Bill and the Confederation of the Uganda Chamber of Commerce and Industry Bill 2024 are awaiting approval of their principles by Cabinet. The Scientific Metrological Bill 2024 and Legal Metrology Bill 2024, UNBS received the first drafts from the first Parliamentary Council for review and stakeholders' input. Resubmission is planned for May 2026. The Industrial Licensing Bill, the Ministry of Trade has completed the regulatory impact assessment and is finalizing the detailed statement of financial implications. The Scrap Recycling Bill, the Ministry of Trade realized that within the existing laws, scrap could be regulated. So the ministry developed the trade licensing regulations for scrap. The accreditation regulations to the Accreditation Services Act, CAP 194, were developed, and the Ministry of Trade is consulting with the Attorney General to confirm whether the same regulations are in line with the accreditation services. Recommendations of the committee, Right Honourable Speaker, that 1, government allocates funds to operationalize the Accreditation Services Act, CAP 194, and the Sugar Amendment Act to 2025. And 2, that government fast-tracks the tabling of the aforementioned proposed bills before Parliament for processing. The key issues that needed to be addressed, the committee noted that the following key policy issues that were to be addressed in the budget of 25-26 and are up to date, still pending, include multiple legislations governing cooperatives. 2, the repeal of the Industrial Licensing Act, CAP 73, to align with international standards and eliminate outdated provisions and enhance regulatory efficiency and promote industrial and scientific innovation. 3, the review of the national trade policy. The committee was informed by the ministry that this was done and awaits cabinet approval. 4 is the completion of the wood and furniture industrial strategy, the national startup strategy, the PDM marketing strategy, and regulatory impact assessment for startup bills. The committee recommends that the ministry expeditiously addresses the aforementioned key policy issues. The committee also further recommends that government harmonizes and consolidates the Microfinance Deposit Taking Institutions Act, CAP 58, and the Tier 4 Microfinance Institutions and Money Lenders Act, CAP 61, and the Cooperatives Act, CAP 107, into one law for harmonized regulation of the cooperative subsector. The other issue is the need to adequately fund trade negotiations. Right Honourable Speaker, I'll go straight to our recommendations. That the committee recommends that government allocates an additional Uganda shillings 1.8 billion to the Ministry of Trade to facilitate deployment of trade attaches in all the 4 key markets of World Trade Organization, COMESA, China, and India. On stalled projects under Uganda Warehouse Receipt System, the committee recommends, Right Honourable Speaker, that the Ministry of Trade expedites the establishment of the Warehouse Receipt Systems project, given the ongoing decline in the value of the warehouse facilities. The committee further recommends that the Ministry of Trade should continue collaboration with development partners to secure alternative funding and ensure swift project implementation. On the establishment of a trade house, Right Honourable Speaker, the committee recommends that Uganda shillings 15 billion earmarked for construction of the UDC home in the budget for the financial year 26-27 be utilized to construct a trade house that will accommodate the Ministry of Trade, UDC, and all other agencies under the ministry in order to enhance efficiency of limited resources. 2, that the Ministry of Trade enters an MOU with UDC in regards to the land that UDC has already secured for construction of the UDC home to ensure that the two government institutions agree on modalities of establishing a trade house. On delayed implementation of the Industrial Parks Project Phase 2, the committee recommends that government, through the Ministry of Finance, should ensure that counterpart funding obligations are given priority in respective program ceilings, since Ministry of Finance confirms availability of counterpart funding prior to the approval of any loans. The committee further recommends that government seeks external financing only for projects that are ready for implementation. This will help avoid unnecessary commitment fees from undisbursed loans and ensure funds are used efficiently. On the review of the UDC investment strategy, the committee recommends that UDC reviews its strategy to take into consideration return on investments as one of the key principles in order to free capital from beneficiary companies to also continue benefiting others. On vote 154, which is Uganda National Bureau of Standards, on the issue of recruitment of additional staff, Right Honourable Speaker, the committee recommends that government prioritizes additional funding to UNBS over the medium term to cater for recruitment of additional staff in a phased manner. On sensitization of harmful products, the committee recommends that UNBS devises better means of awareness creation and sensitization of general public on certified products in addition to the use of its website. The committee further recommends that UNBS should quickly inform the general public of any harmful products that may be in circulation. On vote 110, Uganda Industrial Research Institute, on the matter of full operationalization of Namamve campus, the committee recommends that government provides Uganda shillings 6.2 billion to URI for acquisition of additional machinery in the short to medium term. On vote 168, Uganda Free Zones and Exports Promotions Authority, on the matter of high litigation expenses, the committee recommends that OVZEPA seeks for the services of Attorney General in some of its legal matters to reduce on its expenditure on externally outsourced law firms. Right Honourable Speaker, on vote 601 to 935 local governments, on the need to scale up transitional trade and industry development grants to local governments, the committee reiterates its earlier recommendation that the Ministry of Finance sensitizes all local governments on the procedures for accessing the transitional development trade and industry grant to enable other qualifying local governments benefit from the same. The committee further recommends that the budget for transitional development trade and industry grant be increased to cater for more local governments. Right Honourable Speaker, we'll proceed straight to the Ministry of Tourism, Wildlife, Antiquities, Ministerial Policy Statements for the financial year 26-27. On vote 022, which is the Ministry of Tourism, Wildlife and Antiquities, on the matter of inadequate funding to the Tourism Development Program, The committee recommends that government adequately funds the tourism development program for the program to contribute to the tenfold growth strategy and double-digit growth by the end of NDP 4. The committee further recommends that government should explore various means of funding the Mount Elgon Tourism Infrastructure Development Project. On the matter, Right Honourable Speaker, of funding for review of program policies and regulatory framework, the committee recommends that government allocates an additional Uganda shillings 2 billion to the Ministry of Tourism to enable the review of the policy and regulatory framework of the Tourism Development Program. On Uganda Wildlife Authority, Right Honourable Speaker, the issue on accountability of local governments on UWA revenues shared. The committee recommends that UWA, Uganda Wildlife Authority, expedites the process of reviewing the regulatory framework for wildlife conservation, which is to also address the revenue sharing program. On the absence of governing councils or boards in Uganda Wildlife Research Training School and the HTTC, the committee recommends that the Ministry of Education expedites the process of developing the regulations for operationalizing the TVET Act to aid the appointments to the governing councils. The committee further recommends that government should amend the TVET Act to include professionals in the tourism, hospitality, and wildlife research to take into consideration representation of the college's interests. On vote 117, which is Uganda Tourism Board, on the need to eliminate the cost of hiring law firms, the committee recommends that Uganda Tourism Board seeks for the services of the Attorney General in some of its legal matters to reduce on its expenditure on externally outsourced law firms. On vote 601 to 935 local governments, on the need for a formula for the tourism development grants in local government, Right Honourable Speaker, the committee observed that local governments are essential in advancing and maintaining cultural and domestic tourism across different regions of Uganda. And we recommend that the Ministry of Tourism, together with the Ministry of Finance, establish a transparent selection criteria for identifying which local governments should receive tourism development grants during each financial year. The committee recommends that government, through the Ministry of Finance, increases the non-wage tourism development grants allocation so that each local government receives more than 10.795 million annually. This will increase will support more efficient tourism initiatives and boost local economies and cultural preservation. Right Honourable Speaker, honourable members, the committee considered the ministerial policy statements and budget estimates for the financial year 26-27 of the Ministry of Trade, Industries and Commerce and Ministry of Tourism, Wildlife and Antiquities, and recommends that this report be adopted with the following amounts of money allocated to various votes as indicated in the table below. Right Honourable Speaker, on vote 015, Ministry of Trade, Industry and Cooperatives, the recurrent is 500 billion, 700 million and 97,000. The development is 14 billion, 260 million. And the total for Ministry of Trade, Industry and Cooperatives is 514 billion, 960 million and 97,000. On vote 110, Uganda Industrial Research Institute, recurrent is 22 billion, 524 million, 910,000. Development is 2 billion, 893 million 60,000. The total is 25 billion 417 million 970,000. On vote 154, Uganda National Bureau of Standards, the recurrent is 82 billion 425 million 598,000. The development budget is 48 billion 190 million, and the total is 130 billion 615 million 599,000. On vote 168 or vote 168, Uganda Free Zones and Exports Promotions Authority, the recurrent is 36 billion 565 million 570,000. The development budget is 7 billion 360,000. It's 360 million. The total is 43 billion 925 million 570,000. On vote 022, Ministry of Tourism, Wildlife and Antiquities, the recurrent is 349 billion 292 million 825,000. The development budget is 71 billion 816 million, and the total is 421 billion 108 million 825,000. On vote 117, Uganda Tourism Board, recurrent is 9 billion 318 million 93 billion, I beg your pardon. The total there is 96 billion 223 million 971,000. On vote 607, local governments, trade and industry grants, the total is 8 billion 482 million 225,000. And finally, on vote 605, which is local governments, tourism development grants, Right Honorable Speaker, total is 11 billion 400 million shillings. Right Honorable Speaker and honorable members, I beg to report.
Thank you so much, Chair, for a very good report. I was looking at page 40, looking at the amount that is always being given to UDC. As a committee, don't you recommend that they have their own vote rather than having a subversion?
Indeed, Right Honorable Speaker, our committee interacted with the UDC at length, and we were also able to look at the Auditor General's report. And there are concerns that there have been significant investments, but with a very low returns on investment. And perhaps one of the factors in the Auditor General's report is associated to specific projects, predetermined projects, rather than giving them latitude to be able to appraise these projects and see what is viable. And then Parliament will be able to assess them on the basis of performance of those projects that they have chosen. So a vote would suffice, Right Honorable Speaker.
So I think that's one of the things that you should propose to the Budget Committee, that because of the volume of investment and because of laxity of people to pay these monies, these people need to have the full authority to have their own vote rather than having a subversion. Is that seconded? The issue of having a direct vote, is it seconded? Is it seconded? Go on record. Not
yes.
you, not you.
Thank you,
Minister. Honorable Minister. Prime Minister. By the way, we don't give a vote, we only recommend. We are saying because of the nature of the business in that corporation, it is better for them to manage their own affairs so that they are able to monitor what happens. I'm just making an amendment in your report. Yes, Honorable Prime Minister.
Right Honorable Speaker, we recommend the proposal by the Minister of Finance to support the vote.
Thank you. Honorable members, as we try to get more revenue as government and as we try to capitalize its institutions, the ones that can actually pay. So we need full control of these institutions so that we are able to monitor how the institutions are doing and how they are paying. Thank you. Yes, Isaac.
Thank you, Right Honorable Speaker, and I thank our chair for a good presentation of the committee. Madam Speaker, on the issue of UDC, I think we need to carefully scrutinize, because we do allocate quite a lot of money to UDC, and if we look at how much they give out to some of where their priorities in investment and what we get back in return, I think the issue of transparency needs to come to us clearly in this house first before we can really look at expanding our allocation to UDC and giving them a vote on that aspect, because they seem to be...
Giving them a vote does not mean that we scrutinize the people we give the money. Actually, once they have their own responsibility, they will even scrutinize them better. If we are saying we are giving, for an example, Isaac and company money, UDC should be able to take charge, take responsibility, not just being instructed to do A, B, C, D, and give their own opinion on the institution that is going to be given the money.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker.
It has no effect completely.
Yes. With that explanation, I do understand the angle you're coming from, and if that is a channel that can be followed, I think it's a good way forward to go. The independence for them to really carry out their duties effectively. Right Honorable Speaker, I wanted also, I was waiting to hear from the chair on how the Minister of Trade is using the one-stop center, because we really invested a lot as government to build a one-stop center, and that's an area where even Uganda Ministry of Trade and all the other areas operate from. So that didn't come out clearly whether they're using that area before in terms of investment. I do understand the need for availing funds for Uganda National Bureau of Standard. But on top of that, Uganda National Bureau of Standard, we've come to learn that does not operate alone, because there are various other specialities involved within Uganda National Bureau of Standard, especially when they are trying to monitor some things like medical. They need medical personnel. If they are maybe in terms of other industry, they need those people. So we're trying to understand, Madam Speaker, that sometimes these people, for example, we passed a bill here for Uganda Drug Authority.
UNBS, we said, would be the overall overseer. NDA would be on medical. Each of these institutions, not Swavuru, saying that the law we passed last week, that all these specialized services must have their own what? Regulators. But UNBS remains the overall
Yes,
on standards.
that is true, Madam Speaker. I do understand that point. I was just looking at in terms of recruitment, whether they will have their own, some people from with medical background or some people with the other special working as for them, or they'll just rely on people from NDA on that point, so that we do not have double recruitment whereby we can borrow the specialty from NDA instead of those people being on, we have some permanent medical staff also on UNBS. On issue of industrial parks, Madam Speaker, we have noticed that the investment on the industrial park at the moment is not widely spread across the country. Most of the investment you'll find is along the Impala, Ginger, now stretching up to the Mbale corridor, leaving the rest of the country untapped properly. We have investment parks, for example, in a whole area like West Nile with a population of almost 4.5 million without any industrial park. We did have an industrial park in Nebi that is in
Honorable Isaac,
Yes.
that is in plan.
Yes.
We are going, okay, government is going to make sure that the industrial parks are all over, all the areas that have been identified. So let's look at priorities. As I said before, let's not look at unfunded priorities. For now, let's look at what we have in the pocket and what we can spend. We will move from one sub-region to the other sub-region. Okay? Not so, Prime Minister.
Yes, it's just that the industrial park I'm talking about was actually commissioned about 3 years ago, and nothing has been done. I've not heard on the report regarding feasibility of that studies, whether it has been done for that national park. So are we just opening these national parks and leaving them there? On the issue of Uganda Tourism Board, I feel...
Isaac, we are going to ask Uganda Investment Authority to handle that. And it will be handled. Just be rest assured it will be handled.
Thank you for the guidance, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, on the issue of Uganda Tourism Board, we do feel like we need to try and strengthen our foreign attaches, our foreign commissions, because those are our first stop centers internationally, the foreign commission, foreign attaches, where they can actually help us in terms of promoting and marketing our country. But I feel as if the funding that we keep giving under the vote of Uganda Tourism Board to our foreign missions to help market our country is still minimal. We need to make sure that if we can increase their funding, the foreign attaches, it will be something good to help us market our country. On Uganda Wildlife Authority...
Isaac, that will come under Foreign Affairs.
I understand, Madam Speaker, but there is also some money that under tourism usually, Uganda Tourism Board, that we do allocate under Uganda Tourism Board, that goes to as another funding to their mission.
Thank you.
Lastly, Madam Speaker, on the issue of Uganda Wildlife Authority, I do feel as if we do end up having some double funding, especially in terms whereby Uganda Wildlife Authority is taking care of some of the reserves within its boundaries. For example, like the forests. If you go to Machishon Falls, we have like Budongo Forest. Uganda Wildlife Authority is getting some money to take care of Budongo Forest as a reserve, and we find that the forest, that we are having also other entity taking care of the forest. So I don't know whether that falls under double funding. Thank you.
Thank you, Honorable Minister.
Thank you so much, Right Honorable.
Honorable members, just to remind you that after this report is going to the Budget Committee. Where you feel you have something that you need to be included, follow it to the Budget Committee. Okay? That's where we have harmonization of the report. Yes, Honorable Minister. Does the report represent what you expect?
Thank you, Right Honorable Speaker. And I want to thank the Chair of the committee, with the members of the committee for the elaborate report. and the few issues that they spoke to are issues we intend to improve, and so there's nothing much I would add or subtract, Right Honourable Speaker. And you guided clearly, as much as the Ministry of Tourism directly gives some small support of around 100 million to every embassy, but there is a specific amount of money under economic diplomacy through foreign affairs that goes to the embassies, and they are doing a good job helping us market destination Uganda. The final one on the issue of whether there is duplication of resources, especially where OWA is probably also managing forests like Budongo. It is not true. What is under NFA is clearly under NFA. What we manage are mainly the parks, the reserves, and the sanctuaries. So there is no, we don't get separate money to go and run the forests. It's theirs until they are clearly given to us by Parliament. But I want to thank the committee for the good report. Thank you, Right Honourable.
Thank you so much. Honourable Chair, I hope you put money for fencing of the parks. Thank you. Next, and I refer this to the Budget Committee. We want the parks to be fenced. We do not want the animals to eat our people, or people to eat our animals. Two-way. Yeah, thank you so much for a very good report. Next.
The Sectoral Committee on Public Service and Local Government.
Public service and local government. You've seen how the youth has been brief.
Thank you very much, Right Honourable Speaker and honourable colleagues. Madam Speaker, permit me to begin by laying on table first a copy of the report of the committee, and also the minutes of the committee meetings that I have here with me. I beg to lay.
Please lay.
Right Honourable Speaker, permit me to present the report of the Committee on Public Service and Local Government on the ministerial policy statements and budget estimates for financial year 2026-27. Madam Speaker, in the interest of time, I will request that members follow from the documents that have been uploaded, and I will majorly look at observations and recommendations. But just to guide Madam Speaker, on page 5, the introduction, page 6, issues of compliance. Right Honourable Speaker, the entities complied with the requirements, but it is important just to mention one key area, that in as far as compliance with parliamentary recommendations are concerned, the committee observed that Parliament made several recommendations in the previous ministerial policy statement. It is evident that the entities have taken effort to achieve these recommendations. However, the recommendations of Parliament have not been fully realized, especially those that have financial and budgetary implications. We therefore recommend, Right Honourable Speaker, that the entities under its purview should ensure continued engagement with the Ministry of Finance, Planning and Economic Development to ensure that the rest of the recommendations are budgeted for in the subsequent financial year. Honourable Speaker, from page 10 to, on page 10 we look at overview of the program performance budget strategy for financial year 2026-27, and that takes us up to, just in the interest of time, so that members can have their own time to look at it. That takes us up to page 25, where we have indicated the challenges faced during the financial year 2025-2026 budget execution. And on page 26, Right Honourable Speaker, we provided observations, and I'll request that you allow me run through that very quickly. Right Honorable Speaker, on number 5.1.5, Committee Observations and Recommendations, Roman number 1, compensation of the 2,200 staff to be laid off under RAPEX. The committee noted that government allocated Uganda shilling 115.915 billion to cater for pension, gratuity, and severance for staff affected by RAPEX. Of this amount, Uganda shilling 102.821 billion has been released to facilitate payments under Phase 1 and 2, reflecting government's commitment to supporting affected staff. The balance of Uganda shilling 13.094 billion remains outstanding, mainly for institutions whose legal and administrative frameworks are not yet finalized. The committee noted that while compensation details for the laid-off staff under RAPEX are still emerging, there is a clear focus on ensuring fair support for the affected staff during the transition. Recommendation. The committee recommends that 1, Ministry of Public Service together with the affected institutions should expedite the finalization of legal and institutional framework to enable timely compensation of all the affected staff. 2, the Ministry of Finance, Planning and Economic Development should prioritize the release of the outstanding Uganda shilling 13.094 billion to clear pending obligations. On implementation of the recommendations of RAPEX through mergers, mainstreaming, and transfers, Right Honorable Speaker, the committee recommends that the Ministry of Finance should provide the dedicated resources of Uganda shilling 2.9 billion for the implementation of the recommendations of RAPEX. On the Civil Service College, Right Honorable Speaker, I will take you to page 29. The committee recommends that the Ministry of Finance should provide 137 billion for the expansion of the Civil Service College Uganda facilities under Phase 2 construction. 2, Ministry of Finance should provide Uganda shilling 3 billion to help the ministry carry out induction of all recruited public servants to ensure effective service delivery. 3, government should consider centralizing key aspects of training function or establishing mandatory guidelines to ensure that accounting officers prioritize training at Civil Service Uganda through the Civil Service College Uganda, thereby promoting standardized training, a unified value system, and strengthened professionalism across the public service. On rolling out of the electronic document and records management system to MDAs and local governments, the committee recommends that the Ministry of Finance provide 2 billion shilling for the rollout of this system as it will help reduce red tape, reduce operational cost, and improve service delivery. On establishment and operationalization of the Public Service Pension Fund, the committee recommends that Uganda shilling, maybe just to break down this, Right Honorable Speaker, the committee noted that out of the required Uganda shilling 45.59 billion, Uganda shilling 45 has been allocated, leaving a funding gap of Uganda shilling 0.59 billion, which has not been provided for in the budget. That is for the establishment and operationalization of the Public Service Pension Fund. The committee is therefore recommending that the said amount, Uganda shilling 0.59 billion, is provided for to enable the smooth establishment and operationalization of the Public Service Pension Fund. Right Honorable Speaker, vote on vote 146, that is Public Service Commission. On page 31, we look at the mandate up to page 33. Madam Speaker, you will, in the interest of time, you will permit me to take you to page 35, where we are looking at committee observations and recommendations. Madam Speaker, on performance audit, the committee recommends that the Ministry of Finance should allocate Uganda shilling 0.662 billion in the budget to allow the Commission carry out performance audit in the remaining districts and cities in Uganda. On Commission's motor vehicle fleet, the committee recommends that the all transport fleet of the Commission be replaced and more vehicles procured to enable the Commission in the carrying out of field activities. On office accommodation and equipment adequacy, The committee recommends, and that is on 35, page 35, 37, Right Honorable Speaker. The committee recommends that the Minister of Finance should provide Uganda shilling 4 billion to the Commission to carry out feasibility studies to solve office space challenges, and Uganda shilling 0.692 billion is provided for the procurement of laptops, desktops, and tablets for the commissions and district service commissions, together with the City Service Commission. Right Honorable Speaker, number 5.3, vote 011, Minister of Local Government. Madam Speaker, in the interest of time again, you will permit me to take you through the observations and recommendations. And that is on page 51. On page 51, Right Honorable Speaker, number 1 is under parish development model. The Minister of Local Government has allocated Uganda shilling 20.4 billion in the financial year 2026-2027 to strengthen coordination, supervision, and accountability in PDM implementation across all the 176 local government. The committee was informed that the ministry supports PDM by providing the overall coordination, oversight, accountability, and implementation support required to make the model work at the parish level across the country. However, the parishes who are crucial in the implementation of the program are not paid well. This affects activity implementation and encourages corruption. The committee further observed that the uniform allocation of Uganda shilling 100 million per parish, regardless of population size, poverty levels, geographical challenges, or other socio-economic variables, has generated widespread concern since the program's launch. Recommendation: the Minister of Local Government with Minister of Finance and Public Service should ensure that remuneration of parish chiefs is enhanced to match the task they execute. 2, the Minister of Local Government should develop a fair, needs-based disbursement formula that ensures equitable benefits for all Ugandans and revise the current allocation framework accordingly. On property ownership, number 2 is property ownership conflict between newly created cities and their mother districts. Right Honorable Speaker, the establishment of new cities has led to significant conflict over property ownership between the cities and their mother districts. Mother districts argue that they acquired the properties using revenue generated locally, yet upon creation of cities, all assets are supposed to be transferred to the new entities. The committee acknowledges that the creation of new cities is a positive and necessary initiative. However, it observes that Minister of Local Government should have first sensitized leaders of the mother districts to understand that all property ultimately belongs to government. Committee recommends the following. 1, Minister of Local Government should with Minister of Finance should develop a financing framework to help the mother districts reconstruct and develop themselves. 2, Minister of Local Government should establish a transparent and fair system for transferring property between mother districts and new cities, recognizing that all public assets belong to the government. 3, Minister of Local Government should train leaders from both mother districts and new city councils to understand that public property is held in trust for the government, not owned locally, in order to prevent conflicts and promote collaboration. Number 3, on eviction and demolition of illegal structures and roadside markets. Recently, several cities, municipalities, and town councils have been evicting substandard structures and illegal roadside markets, which has affected many vendors and revenue collection. The committee was informed that this initiative by local governments to upgrade their outlook and improve urban areas is important. However, Ministers of Local Government should have provided clear guidelines and sensitization to these local governments on how to go about it without affecting revenue collection. Committee recommendations. The committee recommends that 1, Minister of Finance should allocate Uganda shilling 7 billion required for physical planning development in the urban local governments to avoid such evictions in future. 2, Minister of Local Government should provide clear and enforceable guidelines to local governments on how to carry out the eviction of substandard structures and illegal roadside markets without disrupting revenue collection while still improving the outlook of the urban areas. 3, Ministry of Local Government should provide alternative designated areas where evicted vendors can relocate, ensuring that their livelihoods are not completely disrupted while still maintaining efforts to improve urban planning and revenue collection. On streamlining district service commissions during post-election transition, the committee observed that during the transition period after elections, most district service commissions face challenges in executing their mandates, particularly in handling transition. There is reported corruption involved, as well as nepotism during recruitment. Since most commissions members view it as an opportunity to reward themselves for the years served by appointing their children or relatives. Committee recommendations. The committee recommends that the Minister of Local Government, together with Minister of Public Service, should come up with a structure or guidance to ensure members are held accountable and recruitment processes remain transparent and merit-based. On climate-smart intervention in local governments, permit me to take you through the recommendations. Recommendations: 1, Minister of Local Government should equitably provide performance-based climate grants across the whole country, since climate change is a general issue that affects all regions. 2, Minister of Local Government should establish clear criteria for selecting beneficiary local governments based on climate vulnerability and economic needs, rather than relying on a limited set of districts. 3, Minister of Local Government should increase the overall climate financing budget to cover more local governments and ensure that poorer, rural, and climate-exposed regions receive adequate support. 4, Minister of Local Government strengthen monitoring and evaluation mechanisms to track how allocated funds are utilized and ensure they deliver measurable climate resilience outcomes. And finally, Minister of Local Government should build the technical capacity of local government officials to design, implement, and report on climate-smart projects, ensuring accountability beyond grant period. On staffing gaps in critical technical positions, Right Honorable Speaker, the committee recommends the following. 1, Minister of Finance should provide Uganda shilling 3.625 billion required to fill approved vacant positions and critical positions. 2, Minister of Local Government and Minister of Public Service should harmonize pay across all public services and ensure timely budgeting for recruitment for critical technical positions which are key to service delivery. On remuneration of both political and technical leaders, the committee recommends the following. Right Honorable Speaker, the committee recommends that the Minister of Local Government should work hand in hand with the Minister of Finance and Minister of Public Service to adequately address the current reality of remuneration for both technical and political leaders in local governments. On outstanding domestic arrears, the committee provides the following recommendations. 1, Ministry of Finance should prioritize the clearance of Uganda shilling 24 billion outstanding domestic arrears through a structured repayment plan within the financial year 2026-27 budget. 2, Ministry of Local Government should enforce strict financial discipline and timely commitment controls to prevent the reaccumulation of arrears going forward. On non-functionality of District Public Accounts Committee, DPACs, the committee recommends that Minister of Local Government should provide Uganda shilling 2.9 billion to enable the Local Government Public Accounts Committee to execute their mandate. On inadequate provision of counterpart funding for development projects, Right Honorable Speaker, the committee observed that the root sect project supports the construction of 140 kilometers of community access roads and the development of 13 rural markets across multiple districts, which are crucial to the implementation of the PDM. And the committee recommends that the Minister of Finance should allocate Uganda shilling 4 billion for the continuation of the project as counterpart funding. On the construction for the displaced sub-counties and new town councils. Right Honorable Speaker, there are currently 327 sub-counties without offices. These are sub-counties and town councils, without offices across the country. Right, Honorable Speaker, some of them sit under trees. The committee was informed that the ministry is planning to design standard structural designs and bills of quantities for construction of administration offices blocks for all local governments at an estimated cost of Uganda shilling 500 million, and undertake construction of offices for the affected 327 sub-counties and town councils. The estimated cost to construct each of the sub-counties and the town council I'm talking about is Uganda shilling 150 million. The total estimated cost is therefore Uganda shilling 49 billion. The ministry plans to undertake construction in a phased manner of 2 financial years and require Uganda shilling 24.5 billion each year. The committee further noted that Uganda shilling 25 billion is required to support the construction of the local government administrative headquarters. The committee therefore recommends that Minister of Finance should allocate to Minister of Local Government Uganda shilling 25 billion for the construction of the local government administration headquarters. On road fund for town councils and sub-counties, recommendation, the committee recommends that Uganda shilling 21.6 billion is provided in the financial year 2026-27 under the Integrated Transport Infrastructure and Service Program to cater specifically for maintenance and opening of new roads in sub-counties and town councils.
Honorable Chair, sorry for interruption. We have some youngsters here who would want to live. They are teachers and students from Kalengi High School from Nakaseke district. You're most welcome. Thank you so much for coming. Join me in welcoming them. They are represented by Honorable Naju Masara, Honorable Alan. They are here. You're most welcome. Thank you for coming. Please go ahead.
Thank you, Right Honorable Speaker. Number 5.5 is vote 147, Local Government Finance Commission. Right Honorable Speaker, again, I'll request that you permit me to move straight to committee observations and recommendations. Under that, number 1 is inadequate wage collection. The committee recommends that 1, Minister of Finance and Public Service, Minister of Public Service, prioritize full funding of the approved restructuring to fill the 24 to 25 vacant technical positions, as this directly impact the Local Government Finance Commission's ability to deliver on its growing mandate. 2, improve budget execution and cash flow. Minister of Finance should ensure timely and predictable release of cash limits, particularly development funds, to avoid under-absorption and delays in critical activities like capacity building and IRA support. And 3, harmonize emoluments. The committee further recommends that Parliament should expedite harmonization of remuneration for the Local Government Finance Commission chairperson and vice chairperson with similar constitutional commission to ensure equity and motivation. On number 2 is NSSF and gratuity. The committee recommends that NSSF contributions and gratuity should be treated as first charge obligations within the Local Government Finance Commission budget and should advocate for ring-fencing of these funds. On limited funding for monitoring and evaluation to fiscal decentralization, the committee recommends 1, that Minister of Finance allocate Uganda shilling 0.59 billion towards monitoring and evaluation so as to conduct regular supervision visit. 2, the Minister of Local Government enhances oversight and coordination by strengthening collaboration between local governments and the central agencies to ensure standardized M&E practices. On revenue generation, Right Honorable Speaker, the committee recommends the following: 1, Local Government Finance Commissions prioritizes the full rollout of IRAs in all local governments to address challenges in local government revenue collection and management and maximize the benefits of automation. 2, the Local Government Finance Commission, in collaboration with the Minister of Local Government, should introduce stronger enforcement mechanisms, e.g., linking non-compliance to performance assessment or grant releases for the 125 lower local governments yet to be uploaded to upload budgets. Integration of the program-based budgeting system with IRAS should be fast-tracked. Right Honorable Speaker, on page 65, we have indicated key unfunded or underfunded priorities, and I'll request that when you look at the table, column 1 shows the vote, 2 the budget item, 3 the required budget, 4 what has been allocated, and 5 the deficit. I'll request that you look through that. That is from page 65 up to page 68. In total, for all the votes that I have mentioned, you will realize that the figures are added there. Number 7.0, Right Honorable Speaker, on page 68 is appropriation figures for financial year 2026-27. Based on the aforementioned observations and recommendations, the committee recommends that the House approves the budget of the vote under its jurisdiction as follows. And it's on table 12, which is titled Appropriation Figures for the Public Service and Local Government Sector, Financial Year 2026-27. Vote 005, Minister of Public Service. Recurrent draft estimate is 62.118 billion, and development draft estimate is 42, totaling to 104.118. Vote 011, Minister of Local Government. Recurrent is 125.711 billion, and development is 185.170, totaling to 309.881 billion. Vote 146, Public Service Commission. Recurrent is 27.022, and development is 9.026, total 36.048. Vote 147, Local Government Finance Commission. Recurrent is 23.316 billion, and development is 1.500, totaling to 24.816 billion. And finally, vote 601 to 935, local governments. Recurrent is 6,424.596 billion. Development is 740.617 billion, totaling to 7,165.213 billion. When you look at the total, Right Honorable Speaker, total recurrent is 6,662.763 billion. Development is 977.313 billion. Total is 7,640.076 billion. Right Honorable Speaker, I beg to move.
Thank you, Honorable Chairman. Thank you so much for the very good report. I just want a clarification when you say that they are not paid well. What do you mean by well? The parish chairpersons. What do you mean by well? Because well is subjective. What is well to you may not be well to me, and that's one. Two, there was a promise of paying for additional 15 million shillings for those leaders so that they are able to manage the parish development model well. So they agreed that they would pay additional 15 million per parish. Is it provided for? And then the other would go to the Minister of RAPEX, Minister of Public Service. What happened to our people of RAPEX? They were either supposed to be absorbed or they were supposed to be paid off. But there's a lot of cry outside there on the people who have not been paid on RAPEX. And then to the Minister of Local Government, Honorable Nalongo Businje, the issue of assets has continued to be an issue. The assets of cities, municipalities, vis-a-vis the created new areas. How are you going to resolve that? And then the other issues of demolition. Before you do the demolition, don't you have a plan on how to resettle those people that you're demolishing their areas? Let me first get a response.
Right Honourable Speaker, without going into the figures of how much the parish chiefs are paid, because I'll leave that to the Honourable Minister, from our own interactions with the ministry, number one, the figures that was promised to them is not being provided. And so sometimes they are paid less, sometimes they have to rely on their salary, and you know how much the parish chiefs are paid. But what we're emphasizing, Right Honourable Speaker, is that looking at the PDM being a very key program that is doing a lot in the community, we feel the people responsible for implementation have to be given what they need to do a more effective job. It's even going to be a lot more demanding the time they will have to start recovering the money.
Was the additional 15 million added per parish?
Unfortunately, we were not able to get any details in regards to that. The answer is no, Right Honourable Speaker.
Honourable Sinje.
Thank you, Right Honourable Speaker. On the sharing of assets, we are still getting guidance from the Attorney General. But those that are very clear, like vacating the headquarters, we have facilitated districts to begin constructing their headquarters. And on the issue of getting a uniform design, is out of how each and every district designs. Right Honourable Speaker, if you take an example of Butaleja, their headquarters is 3/4 of the constructed chambers down here. So each one chooses and they don't consider the amount, so we are getting a problem there. When we give 500 startup, some people get out of the foundation, others are still stuck there. That one is very clear, they accepted and they have moved, some have completed and moved, others are still constructing. About the sub-county, the parish development chairs getting more money, I think that one the Minister of Finance can. We did our work, we tabled the supplementary budget, so the rest is out of our hands. And I think those are the ones I had you raising, Right Honourable Speaker.
Who is responsible for PDM? Is it finance
Minister
or
of Local Government?
Minister of Local Government. When the President was moving around the whole country, he promised in every rally, and I'm saying every rally, that he would have additional 15 million per parish. Meaning that if you're given 100 million, so you're going to be given 115, and the 15 million was supposed to be given to the leaders.
Minister of Finance.
The leaders, including maybe the parish who are doing the collection and whichever. You may need to make a follow-up on that.
Yes, maybe we shall liaise with the Minister of Finance. That one is not yet done. And about the big parishes, which members have been forwarding here, they have been requesting for subdivision of those big parishes. But as the minister, we are advising that the problem is not the size of parishes, but the population.
The population.
So requesting for more money to to give to the population, and the government accepted to add another 100 the coming financial year. Maybe Minister of Finance would be in position to answer that, but we are strongly prohibiting division, because dividing will not add more money to the recipients. If we count the population, the bigger, the more the money to the people, other than subdividing the parish.
And Honorable Minister, as ministers of government, you are also responsible for implementation of the president's pledges. I think you need to raise this up when you go for cabinet, that President, you promised the whole country, all the parishes, that, did he promise?
He promised.
Did he promise? Maybe I'm just...
He promised, Right Honorable
Yes,
Speaker.
please remind the President about that amount.
May I ask Honorable Golobi?
There are two
to add
things
on,
that you need to, Honorable Minister, two things. The PDM, the 15 billion, and then the 1 billion shillings to Singiro, Ntungamo, Kasese, Yumbe, the big districts. There are about 5 big districts. Additional 1 billion plus additional equipments. Anoyam.
May I ask Mr. Lugolobi to help me on this, being a plan and on the portal of
And
money
when
in
we
the
had a
finance?
meeting, Honorable Lugolobi, when we had a meeting, the last meeting we had with the President informed the finance to include it in the budget of those big districts, the additional money for maintenance, the 1 billion shillings, the money for road maintenance, the equipments.
Even the money, Right Honorable Speaker, for the parishes that had never received any money because they had not been gazetted, now they are. Finance, do your work, give us the money for those parishes.
Let the Minister.
Right Honorable Speaker, the President is fully aware of many of these requirements. In fact, he emphasized some of them yesterday. But when we are discussing the budget in Cabinet, it became apparent that the resource envelope could not accommodate each and everything that we had on the wish list. The idea was that we phase our implementation of some of these programs. Some of them were postponed to next financial year, particularly the PDM allocations. So we expected that PDM would be accommodated next financial year. We had this huge problem of the teachers of humanities, which took a lot of fiscal space, and then science and technology. So those ones took much of the resources, and therefore we have chosen to postpone those expenditure requirements to next financial year.
Honorable Minister, the issue of demolition. We know we want to have a planned city, planned everything. Why wouldn't you educate these people before you do a demolition and then have an alternative plan?
Right Honorable Speaker, there are two main issues. Number one, majority of those people who are being forced out of the streets are people who got stores in our markets. Matif built very big markets, Barara, Arua, Fort Porto, and so on and so forth. But people decided to get out and begin selling on the verandas. And those inside are suffering and complaining.
They left the stalls inside?
Yes.
Came and created an imaginary store out?
Yes.
And caused a disorder?
Yes. The MPs from Gulu City, the Reverend and the counterpart, invited the Minister of Local Government to help enforce those people off. And since then, unless of recent I haven't been there. There is settlement and there is peace and no one is complaining. Then, just a minute. Then the second one is the recently passed trade bill. There is a lot of problems in keeping the cities
law
clean.
on markets.
There is no proper disposal, sanitation. People, everything do what they want. The nice photo which would get trophies every year cannot get them. So let us agree, ladies and gentlemen, that we need to sensitize our people and get the sanity Uganda deserves. We spent a lot of money building these markets, and there is proof if you go, you'll find empty spaces. I visited Tororo, I visited Arua. Visit your own markets and find out. People have come from the markets and selling on the streets. However, they should have been given enough warning, loud and clear. Even the method of the staff that are demolishing is quite embarrassing. They are forceful, they are arrogant, they spoil things, they throw. That is a methodology. But the fact is that the laws must be adhered to. Thank you.
Yes, you're debating on demolition. First of all, what we need to agree, as legislators, as leaders, politics aside, if there is a market, government has provided a market, it has given you a stall. Why would you leave a stall inside and come and build in front of the market? That is one. And I agree with what the Honorable Minister is saying. It is the enforcement process that could be crowed. But what matters is we want order. Honorable Minister of Lands, you're also planning. I mean, if you get somebody's house, a beautiful house is here, and somebody comes to put a latrine in front of somebody's house, for heaven's sake, shall we have order in this country in the name of politics? We need some order. But for me, what matters is how you communicate to these people, the time you give them to get out, and once you've given them ample time, then you should be able to act. Yes, local government.
Thank you so much, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, we are talking today, but with pain. It's not about politics. It's not us, the MPs. It's that other little young girl who has just started business. Madam Speaker, us areas of Kampala Metropolitan, we have been affected in such that we have mobilized our communities to give in land and to ensure that the roads are well expanded and they are well catered for. These are people who have given in land, but not at any one time. When you are in Greater Kampala, show me any market the government has built, and then you are in position to say that it's empty. Let me make it clear. Show me a market where many of these people were supposed to be.
Okay.
We are talking about.
Okay, leave alone being built. Do we have gazetted market areas in Kampala? Do we have gazetted market areas?
Let's take an example. Let me now, go direct to Wakiso. Let me go to Wakiso. I was part of the parliamentary committees who moved around the different local governments, and we sensitized them and promised that areas of Katabi will be getting a market. And those are some of the places we are expecting. We are having Chireka's market also coming on board in Chira. These areas are just planned. The markets are being planned. They are not yet there. And two, as the committee has just recommended, we are saying please allocate money for physical planning. such that at least the people are well sensitized and they know where what they're supposed to do. But to our dismiss, to our dissatisfaction and to our disappointment, Ministry of Local Government just tells the town clerks, the cows, please just demolish the way you can. Even when you call the town clerks the cows, they are telling you it's an executive order. So we are saying we are not fighting development, but first to reconsider yourself. What if it's you who has given in land, and that you are saying it's a ramshackle building, but it's a building which was very far away from the main road. But now because that person has given in land, now his or her building is a little near. So we are saying, are we humane? Are we minded?
There's information from Ross.
Yeah, thank you so much. Right Honorable, before I say a word, honestly, from the bottom of my heart, I want to pass to you my condolences. We got mixed up when we learned about the death of your dear mother-in-law, because there was a previous one, and when I tried to ask my brother, Honorable Jara, he didn't give me a better answer, but later on I got to know you lost your mother-in-law. My sincere condolences. Now, information to my dear sister. When I'm in Kampala, I live in your constituency. When you talk about Katabi, I live in Entebbe area. Yes, the markets are not built. If you go to Katabi, there's a designated area. If you come to the area of Nkumba, there's that market, Abaita Babiri, although it is not built. If you come to Kauku, there is that designated area. Honestly, at times you fail to drive. And if you knock somebody, you have already killed. You have poured people's goods down. I think once upon a time, in this house, let's put sanity. If you want to enter Arua District Regional Hospital, up to where you are supposed to put your car or put your leg, you can't pass. If we are going to say we should give them ample time, I find this an irony, because you find clerks talking to people, go to the market, they don't want to go. What means shall we use? Minimum force is necessary in every difficult situation. I am here to say we need to fill the markets. We need to sell in the market. Right Honorable Speaker, I also want to talk about the PDM, the parish chiefs. One, I beg we include Terego on the list of districts that need more money, because Terego is the last created district, and for us, our parishes are at the level of colonial times. Yes. I have parishes which have up to 20 villages. I have parishes that have up to 23 villages, 19 villages. My parishes are bigger than most of the sub-counties in this country. Right Honorable, I request they go be included on the list. And on physical planning, we give money every time for physical planning. I beg we do this in a phased manner and in a comprehensive way, not in a substandard way. This is when we put in context that Uganda is expanding every other day. I beg this be taken into consideration.
Honorable members, it is all, at times it becomes a bitter truth that we have to accept to do some things. We have to accept it. If we need harmony, if we need a peaceful town, if we need a clean city, let's do away with these kind of things in the middle. Huh? Let's do away with them. I know it affects some of us politically, but it is okay. So long as you will have legacy left behind, that I left behind a peaceful, a clean city, because we are not going to continue with this. We are not going to live like this. You're passing in a window there, you find somebody is selling on the middle of the road. And Honorable Minister, you need to get money. I have seen a market, is it Karelwe? That market has left that place. Get money and build a market that where people will shift. That is a road reserve. Yes, Peter.
Madam Speaker, first of all, I want to entirely agree with you that, friends, we must accept that the world is evolving. Because the world is evolving, we must accept to live in the 21st century. It is true our people are poor, but it's also true that we must organize them correctly to be at the right place at the right time. Let's take an instance of those who pay trade businesses to operate in shops. Recently, Right Honorable Speaker, I was privileged to go to our stadium in Nachivugo. For once, I drove through Inzwe, went through Container Village.
You saw sanity.
Sanity.
Total.
Total sanity. Before that, I would not dare to go down there. So how long are we going to continue hiding under the politics? Even in our villages where we come from, there are poor people. We represent. My mother sold Ajono to make me what I am. She was a poor person in Kakwita Council. So we should not think that there are those poor special ones more than others. What we need is to support government to help us clear these places for order in the cities across the country. And for that matter, I want to say we must support government. It's not about being in opposition for purpose of opposing. It's about us looking at how can government work as one. I thank you.
Let's put this town in order. We must put this town in order, and I'm telling you, we will be counted to be one of the leaders who put this city to order. You come all the way from Entebbe, you visitors, the first sight of Uganda, you see it on the road and you say, yeah, no, this is not my country. I know my voter. Honorable Member, pursuant to Rule 156(2) of the Rules of Procedure, the report stands referred to the Sectoral Committee of the Sectoral Report. Report stands referred to the Committee of Budget for reconciliation, harmonization, and consolidation. But I want to urge you people to put this city, this Uganda, in order. Even if I am the one who was built on the road, come and demolish. One time Peter's daughter told Peter, do you stay in, what did your daughter tell you? When you reach somewhere that, are you still a minister? You stay in that village of...
For the record, I was privileged. I went with my daughter to Paris. When we landed in the airport of Paris, my daughter told me, Papa, are you a minister? In our country, I seems to look at the orderliness, seems we are living in the past. That's my 11-year-old daughter. And we are here. We travel across the globe. With due respect, colleagues, we have responsibilities to change Uganda, which is our dear land. We must come out clearly to define what is good for our country, what is for politics, and what is good for the development of our country. And we must be sincere to our people that time is now that we must begin to clean up the country for today and tomorrow. I thank you.
Honorable members, and I want to assure you, as ministers responsible for creating order, you have our unwavering support. Next.
The Sectoral Committee on Agriculture, Animal Industry and Fisheries.
Honorable Chair.
Thank you so much, Right Honorable Speaker. On behalf of the Committee of Agriculture, Animal Industry and Fisheries, I beg to lay the report of the committee, the minutes of the meeting held with the stakeholders, and the presentation of the Minister of Agriculture on the policy statement and budget estimate for the financial year 2026-2027. I beg to lay. Right Honorable Speaker and colleagues, the agro-industrialization program led by Ministry of Agriculture, Animal Industry and Fisheries is the primary vehicle through which Uganda intends to grow agriculture sector output to 8% annually and double agricultural export value to USD 4.8 billion by 2029-2030. As set out in NDP4, it is central to the government tenfold strategy and contributes to SDGs 2, 9, and 12. On the budget allocation, the program has been allocated 2,264.72 billion for financial year 2026-2027. This is an executive summary of the entire report. However, it represents 2.69 of the national budget of Uganda shillings 84,249.16 billion, an increase of only 23.5% from the this ending financial year 2025-2026. However, NDP4 requires that 3.64% of the national resource envelope be allocated to this program at the projected national budget. That translates to 3,066.67 billion. The current allocation therefore leaves a financial gap of 801.95 billion, equivalent to 26.2%, with a deficit that this committee considers a material risk to the achievement of the program intended outcomes. On performance, Right Honorable Speaker and colleagues, by December 2025, only 40.7% of the approved budget had been released to the program, below the ideal 50% at AFIA, largely due to poor performance of external financing, which is at 18%. Absorption stood at 62.4, constrained by implementation delays and procurement bottleneck. The committee notes this with serious concerns. Right Honorable Speaker.
Honorable Chair, you're saying absorption of the previous budget is at 62%.
Yes.
These people should even be given less money.
Right Honorable, we are performing at 18% external financing. The committee key findings span all three core votes. That is vote 010, that is MAIF. Critical gaps include 100 billion for irrigation infrastructure, 200 billion to support large-scale commercial farmers, 75 billion for agricultural mechanization, and outstanding payment of areas to coffee nursery operators and former NADS beneficiaries. Under vote 125 NAGRIC, there is a total funding gap of 75 billion for livestock breeding centers, hatcheries, and feed processing plants, all with zero allocation. Under vote 142, that's narrow, a gap of 68 billion remains the nationwide rollout of the NDA-approved anti-tick vaccine, and 40 billion is needed for modern research infrastructure, without which Uganda's research output risk failing international standard of commercial and scientific credibility. In total, the committee has identified 993.44 billion in unfunded and underfunded critical intervention for financial year 2026 and 2027 across the program. Right Honorable Speaker and colleagues, the committee recommends that this Honorable House approves the budget estimate as we present, and it's indicated in the supply tables of this report, and further calls upon the Ministry of Finance, Planning and Economic Development to progressively close the program financing gap in line with NDP4 commitments, and to urgently address the persistently low absorption of external fundings. Right Honorable Speaker, I beg to move and present the report of my beloved committee, Committee of Agriculture, Animal Industry and Fisheries. Colleagues,
what were you presenting first?
It's an executive summary of the entire.
And you have presented, that is okay.
It's okay.
Give us the figures that have been allocated to you. Supply.
Thank you so much, Right Honorable. You have made my work easy. Colleagues, let us go to page 38. It was uploaded. That's the supply table for financial year 2026-2027. Based on the aforementioned observations and recommendations as summarized in the executive summary, the committee recommends that the House approve the budget of the votes under its jurisdiction as follows. Vote 010, Ministry of Agriculture, Animal Industry and Fisheries. Recurrent is 283,110,925 billion shilling. Wage is 39,847,692 billion. Non-wage 278,263,233 billion. Development 179,238,176. Government of Uganda 462,349,103. External financings 536,113,665 billion. Total allocation under vote 010 is 998,462,768. Vote 125, that's National Animal Genetic Center and Data Bank, NAGRIC. Recurrent is 11,090,023. Wage is 5,736,023. Non-wage is 5,354,000. Development is 100,090,000. Government of Uganda is 111,180,023. NAGRIC doesn't have external financing. Total allocation is 111,180,003 billion. Vote 142, that is NARO, National Agricultural Research Organization. Recurrent is 126,322,109 billion. Wage is 47,962,109 billion. Non-wage 78,360,000, that's in thousands billion. Development is 78. Yeah, I've read that one. Government of Uganda 97,500,000. NARO doesn't have external financing. Total allocation is 223,822,109 billion. Right Honorable Speaker, I beg to submit.
Thank you so much, Honorable Chairperson of Agriculture, for a very good report. And Members, do you have anything to say? Yes, Christian.
Thank you for the good report. Right Honourable Speaker, I wanted to know the unfunded priorities of the agricultural sector. We need to appreciate that this is our mother sector, but we are disappointed by the budget consumption. And the contribution of our sector to our livelihood depends on how we invest in it. So we are wondering, what exactly are we going to do about this, also as we fail to attract external funding to this sector? And before we came to the presentation of the sector budgets, there was an issue of the Malabo Declaration fulfillment. We thought you'd give us some idea on how to fulfill this, but we are very disappointed with the low budget consumption. Thank you.
The absorption, Honorable Minister, the absorption of funds in Ministry of Agriculture, specifically the main ministry. What is the problem? Do you have people who need the money? Do you have plans? Or do we give you too much money? Yes.
Thank you very much, Right Honourable Speaker. Right Honourable Speaker, first of all, the budget given to the sector is far below what the NDP 4 provides for. And then secondly, even the little that is allocated is not released. You have heard that.
You don't spend.
Yes.
You know what, Honorable Wino, what the chairperson is saying, much as you're given money which is not enough, but you don't spend. Isn't that what you said? Yes. So we want you to spend all the money, and then we add for you.
Right, Speaker, the main cause of the low absorption are the stringent conditions of the external financing. You know that external financing constitutes more than 60% of the allocation of the sector. And before you spend, you have to seek approval from the external partners each time. So this is the problem. If the resources were coming from the government of Uganda envelope, it would be easier for the sector to absorb all that is related to it. So this is where the problem is.
Yes, Honorable Goli.
Thank you very much, Right Honourable Speaker. I'm really concerned about the absorption. Even if the external funders are stringent, they must be stringent for it. I'm sure they're stringent that do things right. Why can't we do things right so that we spend? Is it government of Uganda money that we don't do things right and we spend anyhow? I think we need to spend money properly so that in Dokolo we have projects smart agriculture. So many other agriculture related, but they are not moving. Why? They are not working together. They are not working to help us do better. It is something that I think we need to do something so that things are done in such a way that it helps our people. A lot of money is recorded, but no expenditure. And when you mention the issue of 3.7% of GDP, according to, no, 3.7% allocation, according to NDP4, to me, don't look at agriculture as money that goes to you, Minister of Agriculture. Agriculture Even PDM is agriculture. PDM is agriculture. 100%. Is it that you are calling it because it doesn't pass through you? I think that's a wrong perception that we are giving, that we are not fulfilling what NDP is planning. Thank you.
Nalongo.
Thank you very much, Honorable Speaker. I just want to clarify to my brother that the figure given by the chairperson is for the entire program, including even local government where PDM is. So we are not talking about the sector. We are talking about the entire program.
Let me hear from Honorable Grania.
Can you help me, Speaker?
Just a minute. Let me hear from Grania, then Honorable Evander. Then I'll come back to you.
Thank you very much, Right Honorable Speaker. Right Honorable Speaker, also to join Honorable Minister in giving a little clarity about the figure that we are contradicting ourselves about. When Honorable Chairperson mentioned the 18% rate, that was a rate of the release in external financing.
Yes.
However, when we talk about the absorption in that very line, it is about 50-point-something%. And when you look at the general absorption of the ministry, it is far much better than the 54-point-something%. But that does not underscore the fact that ministry needs to strictly, yes, to hype up their monitoring on the release of those funds and the utilization. There is so much that needs to be done to this very important sector. When we look at the strategy of the tenfold growth, we need to do so much to ensure that we achieve the stipulated goals. I thank you very much, Honorable Speaker.
Honorable Evander.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Right Honorable Speaker and Honorable colleagues. The Right Honorable Speaker, I'm so concerned about the issues of tractors. Mechanization of agriculture. Most of our people in the villages are waking up, Right Honorable and Honorable colleagues. They are now doing agriculture not only for home consumption, but even for sale. But the fact is that these tractors in the ministry, people who are accessing these tractors, people who are getting these tractors, they do it clandestinely. There is no formula who gets these tractors. In the 10th Parliamentary, we had they provide us the list of those districts that are supposed to get these tractors. You find individually someone tells you, me, I go there, personally, I get a tractor. But the entire Ntoroko, for instance, we don't have any tractor. And they use the clandestine way of getting these tractors. I want to ask through you, the Right Honorable, why don't the Minister of Agriculture bring us the list of beneficiaries, of those who are supposed to benefit from these tractors? Lastly, it's on the issue of irrigation. The criteria used there, those who are supposed to have these tractors. And it's again another issue, the Right Honorable, is on irrigation. For sure, we are depending on weather. And it's so disturbing, Right Honorable. The weather is now changing. But in our place, the ministry is not putting enough to ensure that people get irrigation. Because if we get irrigation, some places are productive, but they lack water. So I don't know what the ministry is doing to ensure that the entire country, not few, so that this program is rolled out, all districts get this aspect of irrigation, and our people engage in production. I think it's something, the Right Honorable, in this budget we should have prioritized irrigation. If it's there, I thank God. I beg to submit, Right Honorable.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Right Honorable, for giving me this opportunity. Right Honorable, we are moving this country to middle income economy, but well aware that West Nile is the second poorest to Karamoja. And unless we do mechanization, we are not going to shift West Nile anywhere. We still have a lot of land. It is now 2 months.
Mechanization and irrigation.
And irrigation.
If you're near Karamoja, Karamoja is a dry area, so you need irrigation and mechanization. Take note.
Yeah, thank you, Right Honorable Speaker, for that correction. Right Honorable Speaker, the Minister of Agriculture needs to be strategic. We, West Nile, we have been so much into tobacco, especially Terego and Marat, that lower belt. Now, tobacco has become a nightmare. I would think Minister of Agriculture should be intentional to taking cocoa, coffee into West Nile, so that we stop taking this or dragging this country backwards. We need to move forward, and this is by a deliberate action by Minister of Agriculture. You parade your body to Minister of Agriculture to look for money so that they can buy coffee and cocoa seedlings within West Nile. Nothing. They promise you air. Thank you.
And I think you should also include the coffee. Linda.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I equally want to thank the chairperson of the committee for the report. My point of concern, Madam Speaker, is under the extension staff. When you look at the program of PDM, very many people have benefited under the enterprise of piggery, dairy, banana, and they need extension staff to support them. The extension staff are not well motivated. They do not have transport. So it becomes a very big challenge. My request was that in this financial year that we are going to pass the budget, that they should provide transportation for the extension staff. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, I want to thank the chairperson of the Agriculture Committee for the report. Madam Speaker, the people of West Budamano constituency in Toro District are actually begging and crying for balanced regional development. Agriculture being the backbone of the local economy of Bukedi sub-region, the backbone of the local economy of Busoga sub-region, and other sub-regions that are lagging behind in economic development. I think it is high time Minister of Agriculture prioritized agriculture in those sub-regions that are lagging behind, so that we can be in position to push these local economies forward, and then we attain the vision that we are aspiring for, ensuring that by 2040 we have a transformed society from peasantry to a prosperous community.
Thank you, Christine.
Thank you so much, Right Honorable Speaker. I appreciate the chairperson for the presentation. Right Honorable, as the Minister was giving response to the underutilization of the provided funds, and he talked about conditionalities. He could have maybe gone ahead to give us examples of 1 or 2 projects where the conditions are so tough that the Ugandan farmers cannot utilize a given project. Madam Speaker, I was a member of the Public Accounts Committee, local government, and we used to look at and discuss the micro irrigation project in the lower local government. Madam Speaker, there is an aspect of cost sharing there. And Parker local government recommendations to the Ministry of Agriculture on how farmers would benefit. The late Dr. Tom Okurut, may his soul rest in peace, pushed on that project. And I have one of it in Kadot, that is in Kadami Sub-County. But Madam Speaker, if you go down and follow up, you see almost no impact of the micro irrigation project, because the farmers cannot meet the cost sharing percentages that have been given. They are not even accessing the machinery. They are not making use of the water. So actually, when we look at these projects that Parliament approves and we feel they should benefit the farmers, there should be reality on the ground. Madam Speaker, have we ever had any report from the monitoring by the ministry on how such projects are benefiting us? It could be one of the reasons why the ministry is not able to utilize the given funds, and yet the farmers still need a lot to support commercial agriculture. Thank you.
Tom.
Thank you, Right Honorable Speaker. Right Honorable Speaker, the biggest challenge we have in this country is the high cost of our manure. Most of the farmers are also suffering locally, especially the coffee farmer. When you add up the tea farmers, the reason why they are trying to run out from the business because of the high cost of the manure. It's my prayer that I wish the Ministry of Agriculture can take over the issue of manure and subsidize our local farmers so that we can also make our farmers more active and get good yields. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, Right Honorable Speaker. I want to appreciate the report from the committee, but we want to emphasize the fact that to make sure that the productivity is improved, there is still the element of the whole. Much as we advocate for commercialization, we advocate for mechanization, the whole is still a very outstanding factor in the production process. And for some time, they have promised the horse to the people, and they have not given them. I just want to appeal that this time round, seems everybody, yes, Honorable.
There is money that was approved.
In the recent,
there's money that was approved, the supplementary, and the horses were bought, and the horses were given out.
I can give a little information on that. Madam Speaker, this question was raised as well when we were at the retreat, because it's true, we are appropriated 5 billion and an additional 26 billion in the supplementary of December 2025. We understand the horse have started going into the districts, but the only problem is that we are not being informed of how many horses actually they have sent to our respective districts. You see, they said that in December they could not distribute the horse because it was campaign period and it will be deemed. But as far as we understand, the horses are already being sent to the districts. The only problem is they are not informing us, the members of parliament, not a single letter in our pigeon holes of how many horses have been allocated to in every district. Thank you.
We are residents of those districts. Maybe they have faced the distribution, but at least in a district where I come from, Right Honorable Speaker, there are no horses. We have never received any.
They are still distributing. They are still distributing.
Yes, we hope that
they will reach.
Okay.
They will reach.
Okay.
And when the horses are sent to districts, they will go to the district, not to a member of parliament, to the cow. Not so. Let me hear from the Prime Minister. It is not her. This is the cow.
Right Honorable Speaker, like the Honorable colleague said, that it was raised in Nali, and His Excellency the President said that we are going to talk to the cows or the technical team in the districts to be informing the members of parliament or to give you notification that such and such horses are going to be delivered to your districts. But you are not supposed to be involved in the giving out of those horses. So let us leave that work to the technical team, but they should inform us. Thank you.
Stella.
Thank you, Right Honorable Speaker. I want to thank the committee for the report presented. Right Honorable Speaker, of recent, I realized that the seeds that are now in the market are one-seasoned plants, meaning that once a farmer plants them, the harvest is done, but you can't store them for another season to plant. It means that you have to go back to the market to buy the seeds. But this is difficult. This is a bit expensive for our local people, like in Karamoja. Karamojongs are used to harvesting and then save something for the next season. Actually, this affected most of the farmers in Karamoja. The seeds that were given to government, by government to them, were planted and they harvested some time back. But they thought that they would save part of it for replanting. They did the replanting and they did not get an harvest. There was poor yields. Now, my suggestion is, one, government, first of all, when they give seeds, should inform the community that the seeds that they have been given are one-season seeds.
Stella,
and the other one,
you didn't tell them that they are GMOs.
I didn't know that they are GMOs. First of all, even me, I didn't know that they are GMOs.
They
so
are
we
GMOs.
all need to be informed by the ministry about it. Then what I'm suggesting is government should support narrow to support the preservation of the indigenous plants that are plantable. They are able to plant, save, harvest, save something for the next plantation.
Thank you,
Thank
Stella.
you.
I mean, Santa. Then Alan.
Thank you so much, Right Honorable Speaker, for giving me this chance. Right Honorable Speaker, mine is a great concern on the lack of funding to the agricultural research institutions in this country. Madam Speaker, I was once on the Committee on Agriculture, and we moved in these research institutions, and there's a lot of gap. The institutions are there, the infrastructures are there, but the challenge is the gap in manpower and also money for the research itself. We are talking about funding, we are talking about food security, and the mandate of, for example, the National Agricultural Research Institution organization is to enable us to address the issue of insecurity and increase productivity. So, Madam Speaker, if there is something that we can do now, is to at least get some money and support this research institution. I want to thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Speaker, for the opportunity. My concern is on areas that is on page 26, specifically the 48 billions being demanded by the coffee nursery operators. Madam Speaker, as we speak now, each seedling on the market, it can go from 3,000 to 5,000. Our local farmers cannot afford to buy these seedlings. And the reason to this, these operators are doing so because of the lot of money demanding from the government. So, and according to the report, there is a funding gap of almost 28 billion. So I suggest and I recommend.
Honorable, I don't remember whether it was in a supplementary or whichever. We funded money, we provided money for those farmers, for those suppliers. I am even surprised that they have not been paid. We provided money for it.
So, Madam Speaker, that is my issue, that let the government clear these areas to these farmers, to these
Honorable
coffee nursery
Minister, can we
operators.
have these people paid before we go into the next financial year? Because we know that we provided that money.
Right, Honorable Speaker, it is true
Yeah,
that...
just make a follow-up with the PS.
Yes, it is true that you provided, Parliament provided the money in a supplementary appropriation, but the total areas is about 80 billion shillings, and yet the supplementary was about 34 billion shillings, meaning that even with the supplementary release, we shall not be able to pay all. But as per your guidance,
Okay,
we
first
shall pay before the financial year.
First pay the ones that you have money for, as a way to get more money to pay the balance.
Much obliged, Right Honourable Speaker.
Thank you. Members, we've discussed this thing for long. Pursuant to rule, you'll speak in the next one. Pursuant to Rule 156(2) of the Rules of Procedure, the report is referred to the Committee of Budget for Harmonization, Reconciliation, and Consolidation. Thank you so much, Honorable Chair of the mighty Agricultural Committee. Thank you.
The sector,
Thank you.
the Sectoral Committee on ICT and National Guidance.
ICT. Honorable Noah.
Thank you, Right Honorable Speaker. Yesterday, I got communication from the chairperson of the committee. He is disposed and he requested me to stand on behalf of the committee to present the report of the committee. Right Honorable Speaker and honorable members, before I do so, kindly allow me to lay on table the copy of the report. I beg to lay.
Thank you.
Right Honorable Speaker, if you will allow one to skip the introduction, the preambles, the introduction, the background, the methodology. I want to start from compliance. The Public Finance Management Section 1215 provides for the contents of the Ministerial Policy Statement to be submitted to Parliament by the responsible minister. The Minister of Information, Communication, Technology and National Guidance presented the requisite information regarding the votes under his jurisdiction. Section 12.7 of the Public Finance Management Act provides for the National Planning Authority to issue a certificate to confirm compliance of the previous financial year's budget with the National Development Plan. Accordingly, the Digital Transformation Program annual budget for financial year 2025-2026 was assessed and scored 48 compared to the all programs average of 70. The low score was attributed to the non-realization of the ministry's annual budget targets, including the extension of internet connectivity under the last mile coverage, among others. Gender and equity responsiveness budgeting. Section 1210EI of the Public Finance Management Act requires the Minister of Finance, in consultation with Equal Opportunity Commission, to issue a certificate certifying that the budget is gender and equity responsive. The Ministerial Policy Statement of the Minister of ICT and National Guidance was accordingly assessed and scored 61% on gender and equity responsiveness. The overall national average score was 70%, meaning that the digital transformation program underperformed and further declined from the previous year's performance. This was attributed to low update of ICT services in the rural communities, characterized by limited access to the internet, insufficient institutional support to PDM, limited integration of feedback from regional consultations with the stakeholders, and the uncertainties arising from RAPEX. On the other hand, NITA-U under gender and equity compliance was scored at 70%, a mark it has sustained in the last 3 consecutive financial years. Overview of national budget resources envelope. Right Honorable Speaker and honorable members, kindly allow me to skip this section because we know the resource envelope. I want to go to specific vote and on performance of mid-year performance. Minister of ICT and National Guidance, vote 020, the Minister of ICT and National Guidance is mandated to provide strategic and technical leadership, overall coordination, support, and advisory on all matters of policy, laws, regulations, and strategy for ICT and national guidance. Budget performance for vote is 200. The committee observed that the Minister of ICT and National Guidance has an approved budget of 125.14 billion, which was revised from Uganda shillings 102.575 billion, excluding arrears, hence an additional Uganda shillings 22.57 billion. By the close of the first half of the financial year, a sum of Uganda shillings 52.921 billion was released to the vote for expenditure, translating to about 49.9% release. The wage and non-wage recurrent performed to the target, while development underperformed, as you see in the subsequent table. In terms of absorption, nearly 50% of the budget was released and 76% of the release amount was utilized, translating into under absorption of about 23.3%. The ministry had arranged the amount into Uganda shillings 100 billion, and Uganda shillings 50 billion was released to settle some of the arrears. Of the Uganda shillings 50 billion released, 37.7 billion was spent on to settle the poster and UTL former workers, translating into 75.5% performance. As this is you see in the table. Kindly allow me to skip the table and I speak briefly on the achievements. On matters of policy, regulatory frameworks, the ministry was able to ensure that the cabinet approved the national communication policy. The ministry managed to develop and operationalize standards for optical fiber installation, maintenance, protection, and disposal. The standards require operators to prioritize deployment within available underground infrastructure facilities provided by cities, municipalities, authorities, and other government agencies. In the ICT infrastructure development, and then through NITA2, ministry was able, under phase 5 of an NBI project, install 1,567 concrete poles and maintained 4,387 kilometers of fiber cable, which is serving various government agencies. Successfully initiated infrastructure sharing amongst the industry players, including base transceiver stations, tower spaces, power systems, and the ducts. The ministry managed to develop geo-reference database for postcodes for all parishes and wards in 27 districts in central Uganda. This is preparation for the national addressing system, which the ministry is trying to implement. The research and innovation, the ministry signed memorandum of understanding with the Gulu University and Wisdom University for establishment of innovation hubs at the two universities. The ministry conducted assessment of the artificial intelligence landscape to ascertain the AI ecosystem to facilitate the development of the national artificial intelligence framework. On communication national guidance, the ministry managed to conduct civic education awareness campaigns in Ronzori and Ankole sub-regions and developed documentaries on socio-economic transformation initiatives such as PDM and Imioga. On e-services, the ministry managed to commence the development of government digital registry, which will act as a central registry for all government e-systems. So far, the ministry has registered 624 systems, which have already been registered in the register. On key challenges highlighted by the ministry is the inadequate complementary utilities and services that, such as electricity and road access to support rollout of ICT infrastructure. Right, Honorable Speaker, Honorable colleagues, you know that ICT, for us to extend ICT, we need this complementary infrastructure, the electricity and the road access. We also have a challenge of lengthy consultative and approval process for policy formulation and projects. There means lack of application programming interface for some of the systems, which has constrained system integration. In the inadequate space at the National ICT Hub to accommodate increasing number of innovators and startups and the high cost of commercialization and low uptake of local ICT solutions. Right, Honorable Speaker and Honorable Members, I want to now speak to the proposed budget for this current for the next financial year. And basically, the ministry has 7 objectives that it will achieve with the funds provided for next financial year. This includes automation and rollout of e-government services, including PDMs and smart city solutions. The ministry intends to develop user applications for the wider government. The second one is the implementation of the national addressing and postcode system, for which the districts in central Uganda have been already mapped. Refurbishment and equipping of post office buildings
to establish one-stop centers for delivery of government services, strengthen cybersecurity resilience and data protection and privacy, extension of free-to-air TV signals to unserved and underserved areas across the country. The ministry also focusing on establishing a fourth industrial revolution compliant laboratory. And then lastly, acquisition of equipment for the broadcast of African Cup of Nations, AFCON. Table 2 shows the allocations for the ministry. The first two columns show the budget for this current financial year, and then the third one shows the proposals for the financial year 2026 and 2027. Overall, the allocation for the ministry is 152.97 billion. This is an increase by 27.83 billion, which means the ministry budget allocation has increased by 22.2%. Actually, this is more than the NDP target. So we should naturally expect this ministry to perform. The committee observed, basically this section is on the allocation. Now the committee observed that the budget allocation to the ministry has increased by 27.83 billion, an increment of 22% from financial year 2025-2026 to financial year 2026-2027. The increment is on account of increase in development budget under Government of Uganda domestic to cater for infrastructure development with an allocation of 10 billion for Uganda Institute of Communication Technology for the upgrade of lecture rooms to smart lecture rooms and virtual laboratory rooms, as well as wage provisions. The ministry has also, government has also provided the ministry Uganda ceiling 6 billion, which is prioritized for the rollout of the government digital registrar to store all the government application systems. Now, vote specific, I want to now talk about vote specific issues. Vote 126, this is National Information Technology Authority. NITAU, under the RAPEX policy, you are aware that has been rationalized and is given only 3 years period to complete the ongoing ICT infrastructure extension projects, including the national backbone infrastructure and the last mile connectivity with the fundings from UDAP government and the Exim Bank of China. NITAU plays a central role in the digitization of the government operations and is equally responsible for maintaining, regulating and enforcing standards for information technology for both hardware and software. This is achieved through technical advice to government on all matters of information technology development and utilization and development. Honorable colleagues, these functions soon will move to ministry. Budget performance for the half year for NITAU. The approved NITAU annual budget for financial year 2025-2026 is Uganda 463.575 billion, comprising Uganda 81.2 billion from government of Uganda and the external findings source of Uganda 382.37 billion. The budget released for the first half of the financial year was 141.012 billion, representing 50.7% of the approved budget. Uganda ceiling 83.729 was spent, translating into performance of 59.4% as shown in the table below. The low absorption is mainly attributed to lengthy consultative and approval processes by World Bank for the externally funded funds. So we can look at the table. If you see the table, the release is 141, and spend is 83.7, which is 50.7%. The committee noted the following achievements from NITAU. Maintenance of NBI infrastructure measuring 4,387 kilometers length across 57 districts, and installation of 3,931 concrete poles along 8 NBI routes in eastern, central, northern, and western region under phase 4 of the UDAP project. Delivery and the installation of NBI transport network equipment at 30 transmission sites with the power systems which has boosted capacity for 40G to 100G at the core rings. Upgraded the capacity of 63 IPS hubs across the country from 1 gigabyte to 10 gigabytes. Enhancement of e-government services through automation, strengthening of cybersecurity and data protection and privacy. Challenges the entity has experienced. Inadequate staff to fully execute the mandate of the agency in the limited time frame following the RAPEX process and the lengthy consultative and approval processes for the disbursement of funds, constraining timely delivery of services. Table 4 is about the budget for financial year 2026 and 2027. As you see in the table, the budget for the overall budget for this financial year is 344.83 billion. This is the budget. Wage, the proposed budget for wage is 11.92 billion. Non-wage is 35.6 billion. And then recurrent expenditures is 47.6 billion. Government funds for development, we are going to have only 0.02 billion. Actually, basically, inter-use fundings have basically been from external sources. And then external financing for development programs is going to be 297.2 billion. And then government total funding from government for NITA-U is going to be 47.63 billion. And then total government plus external funding is going to be 344.83 billion. Arrears for the institution is 15. And then we have total budget of 359.8 billion for the entity. There is no appropriation for aid for the institution. The committee observed that the vote's proposed budget allocation is projected to decrease from Uganda shillings 463.575 billion approved for financial year 2025-2026 to Uganda shillings 344.83 billion for the next financial year, representing a reduction of 25.6% in its budget estimate. This is attributed to the significant decrease of the government's development budget from Uganda shillings 40 billion to Uganda shillings 20 million. The institution is going to get only 20 million from the government for development. On the other hand, the wage component of the vote has marginally increased by 15% on account of payroll validation as guided by the Minister of Public Service. The authority intends to undertake the following during the financial year. The key activities of NITA-U in 2026-2027 will include extension of NBI national backbone infrastructure, connecting MDAs, local governments and user groups to cover additional 1,700 kilometers, resulting in a total length of 7,387 kilometers. This is the network the institute wants to cover. Now, basically, Right Honorable Speaker and Honorable Members, allow me to speak briefly on subventions under Minister of ICT. I want to start by UBC. I believe this will be very important for us because of the UBC's role in AFCON. Uganda Broadcasting Corporation was established. This is just preamble. Let me talk about the budget. UBC budget performance for the first half of 2025-2026. The committee observed that the corporation has an approved budget of 39.82 billion, of which 16.45 was appropriation in aid, and the remainder was the subvention from ministry. By close of first half of financial year 2025-2026, the corporation has realized only 15.84 billion, equivalent to 40% of its budget. The wage and non-wage recurrent budget component performed at a target of 50%. On the other hand, internally generated revenue underperformed at only 25%. The corporation has proposed budget of 39.82 billion, thereby maintaining its current budgets. This you will see in the table. Key achievements for the institution, I will also read. I want to go to the proposed procurements because this is very important. Because one of the key procurements for the institution which this house needs to support is the equipment for the broadcasting of the AFCON. And then equipment to cover additional direct-to-home sites
You mean there's a different equipment for broadcasting?
They need additional. They actually need about 39 billion.
And remember, we donated an equipment from Parliament to UBC.
Right, Honorable Speaker, on top of what we donated, actually, they need to procure additional equipment to improve their system to be able to cover the AFCON.
How much do they get in their NTR? Because I believe they are money-making body.
Actually, the NTR for this financial year, the target was 16.45 billion, but they only realized about 4.1, and we said they performed very poorly, about 25%. So the entity is not generating a lot of money because it's a government entity. It is basically carrying government.
No, much as it's a government entity, we pay them. Even when they broadcast the Parliament, we pay them. It is not for free. You just need to encourage your entity to make money. At one time, they even gave them exclusive powers.
Yes, right, Honorable Speaker, that power, I think, was challenged, and eventually that decision was
No, but
rescinded.
Honorable Noah, you need to encourage your entity to make money. Okay, they cover you here. Do they cover for free?
I think this should be among the monies they are raising. But what we know is the institution has serious challenges with funding because they are supposed to cover the whole nation. Unlike these business entities that focus on areas which are really commercially viable, UBC is supposed to go to all the regions of the country, and is supposed to deliver the government program information to all the citizens. For that reason, they really need a lot of resources.
Can you, outside this, can you ask that entity to give you a list or a register of their assets?
Right,
outside this.
Yes, I think this
get a
will
register
right,
of their assets. Get all their radio stations. Get all the land. And when you're asking for the land, ask for their land titles. Ask for their land titles and give me that report.
Thank you, Right Honorable Speaker. We will do that. Actually, at the committee level, we have been having a lot.
I happen to have been a vice chairperson of COSASE.
Yes.
And that institution was under me. I know it. I think I know it more than you do.
Yes, Right Honorable Speaker. Actually, some of the issues
Let's
you raised are
that
the
institution.
These are the issues actually observed as a committee, and there's a report which was done on UBC, and we requested that report. Actually, we did not get it. I think with the help of the line ministry, that's responsible for the entity, will be able to do this and find out what is going on there. The lands, of course, they have challenges with the land in Eastern, the lands here in the city, which are all having problems. They also have lands in Western Uganda. That has been coming in the Committee of ICT.
Honorable, I am going to ask, I am happy you've talked about it. We'll ask for a forensic audit on your BC property.
Okay, Right Honorable Speaker. But I will pray for the sake of AFCON. For the sake of AFCON, we really need to support
AFCON,
them while we do the
AFCON
forensic
money
audit.
is provided for under AFCON. The money is provided for under AFCON. When you look at what the minister was reading, the money for AFCON is there. So let's not double budget.
Thank you, Right Honorable Speaker. Now let me go to the key observations of the committee.
You go to appropriation.
Okay. So on appropriation, we actually can start with we have already talked about NITA-U.
It is on 52.
Yeah. Oh. So, expenditure items, proposed budgets, and then recurrent expenditure for the votes is in 94,273,163,000. Development expenditure is the 46,426,443,000. The total is 140,699,606,000. This is for vote 020, Minister of ICT. Vote 126, National Information Technology Authority. Expenditure items, recurrent expenditure is 60,420,233,000. Development expenditure is 297,214,647,000. The total budget is 357,634,880,000. This is the total appropriation for the vote.
What is the total of 498?
The total for
Total appropriation
is the 498,334,486.
Thank you. Yes, Honorable Chair, I still emphasize we need a comprehensive report. Honorable Minister, we need a comprehensive report on your BC assets. We have land that we recovered as Kosase, which is in Bugolovi. There is land of 200 and something acres in where? Eastern Soroti. There is land. We want that as the asset register, and we want to see copies of your titles.
Much obliged, Right Honorable.
And in the case of AFCON, you will be budgeted under AFCON. For you to cover AFCON, you will be budgeted under AFCON. Isn't that better? Yes. Yes, you have a clarification.
Thank you, Right Honorable. Thank you, Chair, for the presentation. Chair, like you had already hinted, on top the Chair was saying total, then down total appropriation. So he could have given us the difference between the two totals. Then, Right Honorable, I am happy that you have guided the chairperson to have the assets register, based on the fact that there was a decline. There is a decline in terms of the local revenue.
Exactly.
And it is at 25%. Apart from having the assets register and all that guidance that you have provided, we could ask the chair to give us the proposals the committee came up with so as to raise up the performance of the committee in terms of generating the local revenue. Thank you.
Thank you. Yes, Professor. Then Aled.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I want to thank the Chair for the report and a clear articulation of issues. But I have three concerns. One, there is mention of underperformance on utilization of area funds. My understanding of the use of area funds is that an activity has already taken place. You are now disbursing funds. Why should you have an average performance? I can't recall the percentage. Chair, I'm talking to you, Chair. Chairperson of the committee, may I have your attention? So there is underutilization of area funds. Activity has already taken place. Why should the ministry fail to utilize the funds that have been released? If it was just budgeted and not released, then one I would understand. But money has already been released. I still need your attention, Chair of the committee. But when I see you talking to the minister, I imagine that you are not taking my submission very seriously. So why would we have underutilization of area funds and the performance is average? My second concern, you alluded to artificial intelligence, and I can see the ministry has some understanding, a good understanding of the use of AI. But the perception in the population, even when you look in the social media, when somebody makes a submission and you don't agree, they say AI, as if AI is negative. AI is not necessarily negative. There are apps of AI that are good for research. I can invoke AI app and turn one of your tables in 30 seconds to a graph. You see? So AI is very useful in many respects. What plans do the minister, rather the ministry, what plan do you have to sensitize the population to know that AI is not necessarily negative and we can use it in many respects? I did not see that aspect in your report. Finally, the report is talking about deployment of 250 Wi-Fi sites. Are some of these sites linked to tourism?